Good. Finally. Apparent. We're professionals, people.
I was taking some heat a month or two ago. Some people were feeling sorry for me, like he doesn't know how to operate a computer. I just want to be perfectly clear. It may not have been me.
Here's the problem.
Welcome,
Okay. So
everyone.
the problem is, I have a story about this. So I got a pair of new earbuds, a month or two ago.
Yeah, sit right then.
All right. Because I lose, or they actually, the ones I had stopped working. So I got a new pair and then they disappeared. Now, I know I lost them because I'm ADHD and God only knows where I put stuff, right? So then I got another pair. Well, they're actually broken. They didn't work. So I ordered replace them with another pair. So I have three pair of the exact same because I did find the old ones, by the way. They were on the floor in my room, which I have no idea how they got there because they haven't been there in days, weeks. I have not admitted this to Clay yet. He's probably like, yeah, no kidding. Um, but
I'm absolutely not surprised.
They were at the end of my bed, and I'm like, how did they? Maybe they were in your shorts. Maybe I dropped them in your shorts. We were walking or something. I don't know. I have no idea. So then, so now I have three pairs of earbuds connected to my computer, and I don't know which one's which because they all say the exact same thing. So yeah.
Well, I'll be the first to offer up a suggestion. Delete all of them, throw away the two pair that don't work, take your new pair and connect them again.
No, the other pair does work. It's just the one in the box downstairs to be sent back to Amazon is still connected as well.
Okay, we'll delete
So
that one.
I don't know which one it is.
All right, delete all three. Start again.
Well, I think we'll just continue doing what we're doing now before I start worrying about that. Just a thought.
That's all right. All right, well, we'll go ahead and start the show now that Ellen has joined us. Seriously, glad to see all of you. Crazy Cat, studying for a test. So, wish you the best of success on that. Actually, not too worried about it. I know you'll do well. Have every confidence that you'll do well, and we're rooting for you. Got Carrie Berry's mom, Melissa's joined us. Good evening to y'all. Good to see y'all.
I
Appreciate y'all.
have it. I've
Pop.
got to say something to Melissa. Melissa, we are doing the intro investing video. It's been actually done twice, and it's going to have to be redone one more time. It's not that we don't love you and don't care about you. I know I promised you we would get it out. We are going to. But we want to make sure that it is the best it can be. So it's taken
Yeah,
a hot minute.
it's gone through a couple of revisions, so I'll try to cut it again tomorrow, hopefully, and then it'll take a couple days for Ellen to do her little magic on it.
Well, yeah, because I'll be out of town.
Oh, that's right.
I am actually
Yeah.
going to see my grandfather tomorrow. He lives about 7 hours away from us. He is 96 years old. He may or may not be watching right now. I sent him the link. Um, this is a man who was the most present male figure in my life growing up. He was, most of the family feared him. I did not. When I was 5 years old, I think, he said something to me I didn't like, and I punched him right in the gonads, and he went and bought me a dress. He had some respect for my obtuseness, but he also his mother taught the English at the Russian embassy in DC. He was a packaging engineer for the furniture company, as well as for Union Camp. He learned Spanish in his 70s so he could do tax returns for Hispanics in his area. He had the first computer that I had ever seen back in, oh God, the 80s. And he knew DOS and programming, and he is probably, oh God, when he was younger, he was in a jazz band. He plays saxophone. He was in the Merchant Marines. He's traveled all over the world. And this may or may not be the last time, that I get to see him. He's 96 years old. And I am so looking forward to it. I'm going to spend quite a few days there, and hopefully we'll see. I'm going to try to convince him to come on air with us for Tuesday night Q&A. Oh, good God. We got to
My favorite little fangirl is excited.
What? Me?
Yep.
Oh, I am. Listen, I love my grandfather. He taught me
and I think it's
so
very
much.
cool you can go see him at 96. That's impressive.
96 years old and still has his wits about him. And I mean, I am so thrilled that, I even get to. I know a lot of people don't. I'm 47 years old, but he actually wanted to come see him because our or his, I guess, family home, the Carson House, is a museum in Western North Carolina. And they have recently taken our family history off of the website. Now, Davy Crockett and Abraham Lincoln have stayed at this house. That was his grandmother's house, and my great-great-grandmother grew up there. And her father or grandfather built the house. So they have recently taken it down because we had the testimony of a slave. We had a slave. Her name was Lydia Rankin, and she taught my great-great-grandparents how to read, write, and do arithmetic. She actually saved them when the house was burning down during the Civil War. But yeah, and Davy Crockett and my great uncle Samuel Price Carson went to the Alamo together, and then Samuel Price Carson, my great uncle, ended up signing the Texas Declaration of Independence. So I think there's a lot to be proud of there. Not, it's just the racism card has been played too many times, I think, these days. And to take down a whole family's history off of the museum that is there. What am I trying to say, Clay? That's the history of our family. That's a museum, and take the history off. That's just, to me, that's insane.
Well, the history of the family was the key reason the house became a museum.
Yes.
And so to take it off and just have a house standing in the middle of nowhere with no history, no idea of why it's significant, why it's been preserved, why it has a historical foundation running it, is a little odd.
Yeah.
But
it's a beautiful place. You've been there with me.
Right. And I know you're excited to go, and I'm excited you can go and see them. I'd love to be able to see my grandparents again.
I bet.
So it'll be a good trip.
It will be. I'm excited. So I'm going to try to get him on Tuesday. So we'll see.
We got to keep in mind 8 o'clock is his bedtime. So
he hasn't been sleeping much because his wife is in the hospital.
We also have a pleasant surprise, I guess. The 2 former students of mine who were on the other Tuesday night will be joining us. So I look forward to that. One of them loves technical trading, technical indicators. We had a question last Tuesday about a technical indicator, MACD. And so I'm going to give him a chance to wax poetic on some of that. And I think you'll be favorably impressed. They're both really good guys. The other guy was on the CFA Challenge team.
Zach.
And Zach, brilliant guy, good guy, Both of them very good guys. Proud of them both. So look forward to sharing with them. Also, another thing that I'm not certain about is we had a comment on the page today or yesterday about possibly being shadow banned by YouTube. So I posted a comment this morning that the video was, tonight. And I was just curious, how many of y'all saw that or got notification of that? How many didn't? Have
Put
you
a
tried to
one in the
search?
comment. Hang on. Put a one in the comments if you got a notification.
Yeah. Or if you have tried to search for us or recommended us to somebody, they couldn't find it. I don't know. We're trying to figure out, exactly what's going on. So if you can help us out by giving us a little extra information there, would be greatly appreciated. So let's find out whether or not we're shadow banned. If we are, we'll approach YouTube, try to figure out why. I mean, admittedly, I can be an obnoxious asshole. I've been called worse, but if I need to be sweeter, if I need to, show Ellen's face more, we can do whatever, we can make some adjustments.
Well, Ellen was very sick this week, so on Tuesday, and I do apologize for that. I'm feeling so much better than I was.
She's
then.
doing a lot better, and we're thankful for that. Nurse M has joined us.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Cannot wait for beginning investing.
Yes.
Yes. He
we
had
will
a great
have
life.
it up. We will have it up soon. No firm drop dead date, but we'll have it soon.
Yeah, he's a great man. So I hope to introduce him to you all.
Now, just a few, let's get started with a little bit of the information. A few quick hits on the economy. There's some interesting things going on in the world, which ought to be aware of or enjoy. For example, last month, we get data. It's about the last month. So data just came out showing that world food prices jumped the most in 18 months. They were up 1.3% last month, or that's about a 15-16% annualized rate. So that's pretty hefty. The reason for the increase was given generally, or is due largely to, for example, Russia backing out of a wheat treaty with Ukraine. Ukraine is a huge exporter of wheat. Obviously, if Russia and Russia bombed the hell out of some of Ukraine's wheat exporting ports. Russia's also a major exporter of wheat. So is there going to be tit for tat there? Some of that also leads to increases in, for example, seed oils, which are a big export commodity. And then you've got India. India put a ban on exporting rice, prohibition of exports on rice.
I've got questions about seed oils. What is the deal with seed oils? It's like all over the internet. Are they good? Are they bad? I've heard they're deadly.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying they're bad. I actually am trying to reduce my dependence on them, but I honestly don't know for certain. So I'm not going to make claims that they are good or bad.
Well, if y'all know, because the chat knows everything, give us. Yeah. No, they do.
We have a great. I know.
They will get right on their computer and be like, "Oh, here's the evidence." I know Crazy Cat Queen is also MD or a PA. Not sure which exactly. I may have missed something, but she should have all the info.
And then if I'm thinking Nurse M is a nurse. Don't ask me why. But I think she.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Nurse M. Duh. MD, that's what I thought.
Outstanding. So if if y'all have some opinions you're willing to share publicly, please feel free. But nonetheless, inflation. Rice, after India announced the ban, increased 2.8%, or about a 19 to 20% annualized rate. Now, some of the concerns also are about El Nino. the weather phenomenon. And I'm not a meteorologist, so I'm not even going to try to begin to explain it. But it's a phenomenon hanging off the western Mexican coast, which is causing all sorts of weather disruptions. For example, we've had a lot of rain in California. Tulare Lake in San Francisco is still flooded. There's over 70,000 farming acres still underwater. Experts say it will take years to recede. The soil there has an underground layer of clay, so the water doesn't absorb very easily. It's what made it a great lake for so long. So that's a significant cut in tomatoes, cotton, soy. There's a drought in the Midwest that impacts wheat production. Texas is having a drought. Their hay production's down, so they're having to cull their herd about 50%. So you're seeing a lot of cuts in food production.
We're going to eat bugs. I'm telling you.
Bugs are doing well. Trust me. I've been outside. Bugs are doing real well. Could have a fly souffle.
Oh, Lord, you could have a fly bonanza.
In the United Kingdom, the Bank of England just warned the citizens that the era of cheap food is over, is gone. Isn't that an interesting statement for a bank to make?
Wow, thanks.
As they estimate food inflation will remain in the double digits for the year. Probably would help if the government didn't try to kill agriculture and farming as well. If you remember, in Ireland, they're trying to kill, I think it's 200,000 head of cattle so they don't produce gas.
Wait, food, isn't that thing that we have to survive?
Pretty much.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So food. Count on food costs continuing to rise. Can't give you exactly an idea of the rate, but if you can start growing your own, you won't regret it, most likely. How about that oil? Energy prices. Oil is up from $71 this month to about $82, $83. That's 15% in 1 month. Do you want to annualize that? And the interesting thing about the increase in oil prices is that's with China's economy being flat, stagnant. A lot of people were counting on China to bounce back after their COVID lockdowns. They have not. Their economy has been relatively stagnant, which is a shock to a lot of people. If you remember, I talked about it, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and talked about how China, with the authoritarian lockdowns and increase in regulations, persecutions, that wasn't an environment in which economies thrived. And so the more militaristic China gets, you can expect their economy to suffer. And then you've still got companies leaving there, taking manufacturing plants out of China. Remember, that started with the embargoes under Trump, and it still continues. And there we have Crazy Cat Queen just saw Chunk. Now Toulouse is getting airtime. And there's
she said Toulouse before. Yeah. Carrie Berry's mom, I heard car loan defaults are rising steadily. You have no idea how many friends I had during 2009, 2010, and 11 who started a repo business because they were getting like $5,000 per repo. And they would do 10 in a day. And they would take a week off because they're like, why?
I have some free time. Maybe I can do a few repos.
I mean, you got to get insured and you got to have a truck. But I mean, you can do that easily if you're doing that much business in a very short period of time.
Yeah. Loan defaults, car loan defaults are rising steadily. They are. And in fact, right now, I just saw today, cars are at their all-time highest prices. It is the most expensive in history to buy cars.
But come on. But used cars were like on the up and up. Like, was it 2001, 2002? They would pay you more than you owed or more than you bought your used car for.
That was in 21 when
21.
car
Okay.
manufacturers had to shut down because they couldn't get
The
chips.
chips.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then used car prices have been more expensive since, what was it? Remember when Obama put a bounty on used cars? It was like $5,000 for used cars. So a lot of people traded in their used cars and got an extra $5,000 for it. Clunkers, I think it was called.
Oh,
But that took a
yeah.
large volume of used cars off the market, turned them
Like
into junkyard statues.
clunkers for cash. Is that what it was
Yeah,
called?
clunkers for cash. That was it.
That's what I thought. Let me find my little thing. Hang on.
Crazy Cat Queen. Not going to lie, we got my hubs a new to us truck last year after he graduated and got his dream job.
Well, congratulations to him.
Yes. I bought a new truck 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Something like that.
Absolutely love it. But the thing is, I keep it for my last one I kept for 19 years. And I take good care of them.
That was the one that we had to tow off the beach on our second date. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Y'all remember that story?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy Cat Queen. I've been regretting it for the last 6 months, but he loves it. So now, why have you been regretting it? Trucks are like it's going to be the chariot of the gods when you get to heaven. It's what you're going to be driving. 2021 Ram. Either that or a 1971 Hemi Cuda with a 426.
I thought you ended up with a 22 because that's what came.
No, I bought it at the end of 20 and it was a 21. It was a brand new 21, new model.
Okay, because I didn't think we were out at the end of 20, but okay, I believe you.
Yeah. I got it right before the crunch hit. So I was one of those that they contacted and asked if I wanted to sell it, and they offered me more than I paid for it. So I thought it was kind of stupid because what would I do then? Buy an even more expensive new truck?
New truck.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you got a hell of a deal though, because I told you to go to Burgal, and you did, and then they had a truck. They
Yeah,
were
we're
like,
not going to
we don't
mention
have your.
specific dealers or
No, I'm
salesmen over
not.
here.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just saying they you're so weird. That they couldn't get the truck that you wanted in, but they got one that was actually had everything that you wanted and then some more and sold it to you for the same price.
Right. Plus, they were actually, and I kid you not, they were actually almost $10,000 cheaper than the dealer in town.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a win-win. Brentwood, leaving this running while I'm out, and then we'll replay to get all the good info. Double the views. Have a great
Thanks,
evening.
Brentwood.
Thank
Have
you,
fun at
Brentwood.
dinner.
Do really appreciate y'all.
Oh, would you stop?
Payments. All my other vehicles have been purchased cash, but he really wanted this one. I kept my last vehicle for 20 years and was a bit heartbroken to give it up because of associated memories. I can name that tune in one note. I don't like paying for new trucks or cars. I mean, the depreciation is 20% as soon as you drive it off the lot. But the notion to me is that I'm keeping it for, I'll probably die in this truck.
Clay Moffitt. I
So
hate it when you say stuff like that.
So I I wanted what I wanted. And I wanted to make sure the condition of it, the mileage, all that. So I just went ahead and bought new. Got what I wanted. So, but yeah, I do hate the price and, payments. My loan was at 4%, so I did go ahead and finance it. I don't know what car loans are going for now, 10%. But yeah,
Oof.
it's trying to buy one now. It's just crazy. Everything's getting crazy. And, with some of what we're seeing, it's probably going to get worse. Melissa, I've only ever bought used cars and we'll keep them going as long as possible. Economically, that's the best deal. The cheapest car you'll ever own is the car you own now, even with repairs generally. Now, when I met Ellen and we were going out, I had 2 or 3 different cars. And I got tired of paying insurance for them. The maintenance on them, the maintenance on this 20-year-old Dodge was getting to be, significant and routine. And so I just got rid of
And the towing costs and the
towing costs on an island, getting a ferry to come pick you up. So yeah, that's a down payment on a car right there. But yeah, I just wanted something if I was only going to have one car, I needed to make sure there wasn't going to be any maintenance because I have a hard time getting around without a car. And renting one or whatever is pain in the anatomy. And repairs are not cheap nowadays. I was trying to
especially with
get Ellen's car.
Especially the German car.
Hitler
I have a
Mobile.
Volkswagen. It'll be paid off in December, though. I'm so excited.
Yeah, but the idiots put the damn brake reservoir, the thing that holds the brake fluid, underneath the cowling. Where the windshield comes down and meets the hood back behind the engine, where the door opens? It's underneath and back under there. So to get to it, just to check the brake fluid is ridiculous. You've got to take the damn car apart.
But Clay, you're a good...
Who designs a car like that? What kind of idiot designs a car like... Tell me about German engineering. Idiots have never worked on a car in their life. Volkswagen, you owe me hours of labor to check the damn brake fluid.
This is because you're such a good man and you wanted to make sure that my car was safe before I set off on my 7-hour journey to and 7-hour fro to see my grandfather. And I appreciate that. You're very sweet to do that.
Oh, glad I finally found it.
He even took it to get the oil changed. He made sure the tire pressures were good, that everything was okay, because he wants his people safe.
Yeah, I'm just, I've seen her drive. So.
Oh, come on. I know you're terrified. I am an aggressive driver. I'm not going to lie.
I'm an aggressive driver.
No, you're not.
Ellen's like NASCAR tooling down the highway. She's zipping.
I have a place to go and I want to get there. And people who, well, I think that's a question later. So never mind. We do have a little of the yes or no game to do because we missed it on Tuesday.
Yeah. Crazy Cat Queen with a good point here. Someone who wants to make sure you pay dollars to take the car to the dealership to have it checked. They don't want you doing it yourself. They really are doing everything they can to make sure you don't do it yourself and that you have to pay through the nose to get routine maintenance done. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. They're even trying, mechanics have been able to restore the computer programming. If they unhook the battery, the little, memory of the car, computer memory of the car is zapped. So once they replace the battery, replug it or whatever, they can restore the memory, the settings or whatever.
Not in a German
Well,
car.
you know, some of the manufacturers don't want them to be able to do that. They're saying that that is proprietary technology, and you know, are trying to get it stopped. It's ridiculous. You won't even be able to change your own battery, much less your own oil or whatever.
I used to
I
change
just,
my own oil and do all my own maintenance when I had a Jeep. I mean, that was just,
yeah,
I was in high school, but I did it. Like, you unscrew it, you put the pin, you do the thing, you change the filter, you drain it all out, you put it all back in. No big deal. It's pretty damn
yeah.
simple.
I would change my own oil on my truck, except I get free oil changes for life. Now I have to drive to get it done, but an oil
Wait,
change for that truck, huh?
for your life, the life of the truck.
As long as I own the truck.
Okay.
So, and it's a big engine, so it takes
A lot of oil.
10 quarts. Yeah. So it's a $200, $300 oil change. So I'm like, yeah, you know, I'll go out and drive, take a little drive. So oil prices,
Well, plus you
energy
get to,
prices coming to you.
plus you get your favorite hot dogs when you're
Yeah.
over there.
There's a little old hole in the wall hot dog place that has great dogs. So every time I go out there, it's out in the country. Every time I go out there, I'll swing by the hot dog place and grab a dog. It's tradition. Now, what else? Oh, saw something else and I thought was interesting. Figured with some of our prior conversations, you might think it interesting as well. Australia is leading the way in going cash free. Without warning, the other day, all 4 major banks began limiting cash withdrawals in various cities, making some branches cash free. You can go to a branch and you can't withdraw cash. How cool is that? Government also apparently took $1 billion worth of notes of Australian currency out of circulation. People are unable to withdraw more than $500. It's happening. Isn't that fascinating? We talked about electronic currency. We talked about countries and banks moving toward a digital coin, a digital currency. It's happening. It's starting. You know, people thought, oh, they're not going to do that. It's starting. Euro in October, I think it's October, is going to be limiting cash withdrawals. We had the chairman of the European Central Bank talking about that. Now, I don't know if they'll exactly implement it in October, but it's coming sometime soon for the ECU countries. The Federal Reserve is looking at a digital coin. The administration has directed the Treasury to research such and how to implement it. The Fed just implemented a program called Fed Now that will underlie or can be used, let me better describe it, can be used to underlie a digital currency. So it's coming. It's coming to a country near you. Crazy Cat Queen, this means they will have total control over our funds. Not loving this at all. Bingo.
Yeah. And what you can spend it on, what you can't spend it on, how much meat you can eat. I mean, this is where they're going with the video that Clay showed a few a few weeks ago about the WEF and how, you know, you will own nothing, you will have nothing, and you'll be happy.
Yeah. The really fascinating thing to me, besides ownership, I mean, we have always taken ownership as the equivalent of liberty. You know, owning your own house is a huge source of financial security. Owning your own car, being able to go where you want, when you want, be able to see friends, family, go see your grandfather, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember under that video, and I've still got the video. I downloaded it. The WEF took it off their website, but I've got it. And I'll play it again if y'all want to see it sometime. But it's a 1.5-minute video talking about the future, what they envision is the future. You'll own nothing. You won't have to leave your house because everything will be delivered to you. You can rent everything you want, but you won't have to leave your house. Well, what's that code for? Are they saying you won't own a car? You won't need your own car. You won't own your house. You won't own a car. You won't need to leave your house. Now, I don't know what that does to your social life or your sense of freedom or being able to visit grandparents, but we just had lockdowns, and the WEF, a lot of those principles in that, and remember, these are world leaders, were excited about that and how the majority of people complied with no complaint.
With
That
COVID, yeah,
just
they did.
encourages them. People think, no, they won't be able to implement their vision. They're training people right now to do it. And that's not a conspiracy theory.
No, I think that was just like a test ground. And I've also heard that I think Secretary of something was talking about they're planning for the next pandemic. Yeah. I'm like, oh, crap. Here we go again. They're already saying it's coming. And there will be no pandemic. It will just be, let's see how we can control these people. Let's see what they'll do.
I also need to give credit. I believe Toots has joined us, our mod. She's a great mod. She helps keep the board running smoothly and in good order. So we love us some Toots. Or Zan's tired. She'll always be Toots to me.
I know, me too.
And then, the babies are always getting love on this channel. Whoops, clicked on the wrong one. Babies are always getting love on this channel. Love the cat in your profile picture. Crazy cat queen. It's kind of cool being on a channel where people notice the little things.
And so Zan is in California.
Yeah, there are tons of totally empty self-driving cars on here now, and it's freaky.
I would be freaked too.
I still don't know that I trust that. I had a car that had that in it. I guess I bought it in 2018. But the thing was, it read the lines on the highway, like the yellow or the dotted white lines, lane separator. And it was great as long as those were well painted. But if you hit a stretch of road that was rough where there was no line, that thing would run right off the road. It'd plow into a tree. If it was a heavy rain and it couldn't make out the lines, it was an adventure. I was sitting there trying to read the paper. I had to keep grabbing the wheel to keep, running into the river. No fun. Did not enjoy that. Do not recommend. 10 out of 10.
Crazy Cat Queen, you have no idea how easy that is. I'm not going to give out any super proprietary information, Clay, so just relax. But one of our friends ran a rather large county in Maryland. I'm being very generic. Who, was it 2 years ago? Had FBI would call her every week and have a Zoom meeting because they had one of the main power grids to the US. And if it got hacked, if 2 of the 19? Is it 19?
2 of the 9.
2 of the 9. 2 of the 9 got hacked, the entire US would be gone. No power.
And it would take months, 6 months,
years,
a year.
Years. She said years to get it back. Mm-hmm.
So just think, how well would you do for 6 months or a year without electricity, without your cell phones, without your refrigerators? air conditioning, heating, your stove. How cool would that be?
I think we'd
And
do pretty well, but
it, it is not that far fetched.
no, it's not.
That's the thing. People kind of brush off some of the stuff or don't think about it. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but two of those grid control centers, how hard would it be for a dedicated group of terrorists to take out two of those? You think the 9/11 was painful?
And our grid is already fragile just as it
Yeah.
is
Think of
with
all
all
the people
of
in
the go ahead.
think of all the people in hospitals on respirators. Think of all the people in operating rooms when all the lights go out and the
The
anesthesia
O2.
equipment dies.
And you keep it at an O2 level that's different,
Yeah.
correct? Or yeah, that would stop.
Yeah, there would be all sorts of calamitous events. No telling how many would die in short order. Then you would have, starvation events because there'd be no way to transport food or store it to keep it from rotting. So, and most people, particularly in big cities, we saw New York, downtown New York. I forget what district it was, but guy was going to give away a PS5, a little game computer. In the past day or two, there have been riots in that city, just young kids trampling cars, and it's a zoo. It's absolutely insane. Now just wait till everybody gets really hungry.
And with what Clay is talking about, with the food prices going up, with the gas prices going up, with the price of everything going up, this is a reality. I mean, this is something that could happen. I mean, Clay has a whole list of all the things that you should have to prepare. I know we've shared it with a few of our friends just because I think that it's necessary. But don't think this is just like tinfoil hat wearing stuff. People don't have money. Food is getting more expensive. Gas is getting more expensive. If you don't have it, without electricity, if that happens, you won't get gas. You won't get anything. You're just going to be on your own with what you got. I know it sucks and it's a hard reality. But it is a reality.
Yeah, I've always been kind of self-reliant, independent. I always wanted to be able to take care of things in an emergency, but particularly got more attuned to it when I moved on the coast and, hurricanes started hitting. Saw what happened during Katrina, where, the lights were out for a week or 2 weeks. And the whole thing just descended into chaos. You had roving gangs, etc. I had a friend who was with not BlackRock. What was the security outfit up here in North Carolina? You know what I'm talking about, anyway.
Yeah, I do.
And they got hired as contractors for some of the public venues like the Superdome. And he said even in the Superdome there were safe areas, and then there were other areas that weren't, where there would be, assaults and rapes or whatever going on. And it was just out of their control. Things can descend to a bad state quickly.
And
once
if it
people
gets
start getting hungry
that bad, you're not going to have gas for helicopters to come and drop off water and food or, first
police
aid.
aren't going to be around. They're going to be at home taking care of their own family.
Yeah.
The thing is, Crazy Cat Queen, I mean, life would suck, but it's doable. It is doable if you're prepared. If you have the means and the ability to be self-reliant. But you don't acquire that just overnight. It takes a little time and a little prep with some of the basics. But yes, it
Being in
is
the
very doable.
military and being in the military and being an MD, I know she knows that,
Yeah. The quote of the night: no YouTube, my social life would die.
so would mine. Yeah, pretty much.
And we would get a lot of exercise. Gas pumps use electricity. Think about it. So,
You got to learn to siphon from those underground tanks.
yeah, there'll be
Not that
competition
I'm
for that
giving
too.
y'all any ideas. I'm just saying.
There'd be competition for that too.
Oh, I have no doubt. Whoever has the
Those smoothie
longest
bikes,
pipe wins.
those smoothie bikes that generate power.
I have no idea what that is.
Uh, I've seen rigs where people take an exercise bike
Mm-hmm.
and hook the wheel up to a generator and are able to generate electricity off that. But that takes some time and effort. But
We need very large hamsters like on
yeah,
Hoag's channel that run the wheels of the
hamsters,
ship. Yes. Very
hamsters that
large.
would be
They're
very
30-foot
scary.
hamsters. 30-foot hamsters that some of these people know what I'm talking about. I'm not insane. I know you think I'm nuts, but they know. Lawyers and dragons.
Nurse M, don't get me started. Oh, New Orleans.
I think New York. Because last two mayors changed our city. Can't take this. Maybe it is New Orleans. I don't know.
Could be either one. Obviously, probably New
New York
York.
City. Yeah, New
Yeah,
York.
because the last two mayors have really done a job changing the tone and the vibe and of the city. Really have. Most major cities. I mean, my advice to most people is get out of big cities now. They are, increasingly getting worse, more violent, uglier. Get out of cities.
Okay, hang on. Y'all, don't tell me I haven't watched the latest episode. I don't want to know if they saved the mouse yet. Don't tell
What are you
me.
talking about?
You don't know, just they know. So don't worry about it. Don't tell me. I haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it tomorrow on the way to my grandfather's. So hush.
She's going to watch YouTube while she's driving.
I'm going to listen.
And y'all wonder why I worry.
Well, he used to sit on Lima's shoulder and then he disappeared. He was her friend and he was so cute. And don't tell me. I don't want to know. He disappeared. Bluestone. Clay's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But okay.
I'm completely lost.
I know.
But there's something else I know. Taco Bell has been sued for false advertising.
I agree.
That's right.
They should be.
You've got the advertisement. You've got the reality. I don't know. It seems like when I bought the Crunchwrap Supreme, it looked just like that.
Mine didn't.
Now pick out which one I'm talking about.
Not the one on the left.
But that's hilarious. Being sued for false advertising. Do y'all think that constitutes false advertising?
Excuse me, but yeah, it does.
If they win this suit, how dramatically will advertising change in this country? I think that's kind of better.
Epic. I mean,
I'm digging that.
Truth.
I kind of hope they win. I like some Taco Bell at 3 a.m., but are used to anyway. I don't know that I do 3 a.m. much anymore.
The stuff that I used to really like, though, they don't even sell anymore. It wasn't even Crunchwrap.
It was always all been the same. They just layer it in different order and call it something else, but it's all the same. You may have a different wrapper, but the beef is the beef, the tomatoes are the tomatoes, the lettuce is the lettuce, The cheese is the cheese.
Oh, but their sour cream is so good.
Oh,
I don't
sour
know
cream
which
is sour cream.
brand they
Yeah.
use. No, it's not.
And they
I,
put all the same stuff on everything. I mean, what's the difference in the ingredients between the Grande Crunch Wrap and the Crunch Wrap Supreme? Now look at those two pictures. Do you see anything that's different other than the
hold up. Hold up. Hey, KP. Go ahead. Continue on.
KP? We're engaged in a dramatic debate over Taco Bell being sued for false advertising and trying to identify what's the difference in a Crunch Wrap Supreme and a Grande Crunch Wrap. This channel deals with the pertinent issues that affect you in your daily lives.
All right. Crazy Cat Queen's got a. I've told him this. He does not get it.
Lawyers and Dragons is like Dungeon and Dragons, only with more fun. You know, I have no idea what Dungeons and Dragons is. I remember the name, but when this was growing and becoming popular, I was working my ass off 70, 80 hours a week. So I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons.
He just doesn't get it. He's like the cows in City Slickers. He'll never get it. I've tried to explain it to him. He doesn't understand. He's not going to. And I still watch it and sometimes have to catch up. But that's why don't tell me what happened with the mouse. Don't want to know.
Well, I'm a little offended because I have on some days identified as a lawyer and I still haven't been invited to play.
You have to be a very select and animated human to do that.
Just kidding. What? I'm not a select human? Thank you.
No, I select you.
Now, so much for Taco Bell. We will follow this and let you know the outcome. China.
I can't wait to see it or to watch. Listen to it. Excuse me. Listen, I will not be watching while I'm driving.
See, that's the cool thing about this show. You can talk about all sorts of other shows during our show, and we enjoy the hell out of it.
Heck yeah.
We actually owe Rob's channel a big thank you because he gave us a pretty good plug one night, and that's how many of you found us. So we are extremely grateful for his support and encouragement. And
Ian has
been on and helped,
yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Both extremely good guys and good attorneys.
Well, I've never had a case with them, so I can't say they're good attorneys, but
I just did. It's okay.
oh, okay. I mean, I like to have like someone's legal, never mind. I'll just be me. Being me.
There's one other thing that's popped up in the news lately. Nigel Farage of UK fame. Remember the guy that can't find a bank? He got debanked in the UK, has approached, at last count, according to him, 9 different banks who have refused his banking. Well, now he's pointing out that we are on the verge, quote, of banks running word checks on customers' social media. If they start running word checks on social media, I'm probably doomed.
So we're screwed. We have no money. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
It's not. It's the kind of thing you can either laugh or cry. So I'm like, I kind of laugh, but that's basically what's happened to Nigel. He's just, the banks are refusing to service him because he's a controversial figure, takes controversial positions.
That angers me to no end, because if you don't have a bank account, you don't have a way to exchange a currency for goods, then you're not really a person. right? You have no identity.
It's
Oh,
like
by
you
the
don't
way.
exist.
Yeah.
Clay, okay, just think a guided fantasy adventure story where the characters get to choose what they do and changes how the story develops based on choices and dice rolls. I've never played D&D.
It's kind of like life.
So I was
You
going to say it's
choose
like
and you
when
roll
I get
dice.
up every morning, except I don't roll the dice.
Well, you kind of do based on your choices. You kind of,
I just
let's
make
see
the
what's going to
choices.
happen.
I'm not throwing the dice.
Oop, oop, oop.
But I will say this, it apparently
Dadgummit.
it's apparently entertaining as hell because it has a rather significant and faithful following. I don't know what they do or how they do it, but they apparently do it well.
I can't get him to watch even one episode. I'm trying.
Some of
KP.
us have to work for a living. Actually, it's on Saturdays,
Yes.
and I'm
Mornings.
usually pretty busy on Saturdays.
Doing what?
Preparing for tonight. Taking your dogs for walks. Somebody has to.
Y'all, yeah. Okay. To back that up, I have got like, I am sure that Crazy Cat Queen's going to correct me on how to pronounce this, but dihydrotic eczema from being a hairstylist for so long, where I get all of these blisters on the bottoms of my feet and my hands, and they are so freaking painful that sometimes it's just hard to walk. It's hard to move. It's hard to do anything. So yeah, Clay has been kind of taking care of the dogs because my left foot has been all blistered up for the past few weeks. And I do apologize, Boo, for that.
It's no problem. KP, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would a bank take the time to do that?
WE.
In the UK, there is a PEP standard. What is it? PEP. I'm trying to remember what that stands for, but basically it's individuals who take controversial stands in public. Well, if the bank is servicing them in those endeavors, the bank can be held liable for some of the things they say or do under the UK law. And this is, I'm not an attorney, but this is just Cliff Notes version. So a lot of the banks have decided that people like Nigel are too controversial. And so happens that most of the people that they have debanked are on one side of the political spectrum, not the other. So that's kind of interesting. And we've seen, large financial companies like BlackRock and Vanguard. BlackRock is a $9 or $10 trillion investment firm, hugely influential in the investment markets. And they strongly advocate what would be referred to as woke politics and ESG and DEI. And we've talked about how those policies actually hurt financial performance.
They invest in all those things, and they have such a incredible investment in the companies that are promoting those things. It's crazy. I think you showed it Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you've got $10 trillion to invest, you can buy some influence. I mean, influence like being on the board of directors or having extremely strong control of the board of directors. So you can implement policies that you want. And Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, has been very open. He's saying we force compliance with their preferences and ideas. So that's spurred a very large reaction. A lot of states are pulling their money out of BlackRock. Some corporations have. So BlackRock, the past few days, has issued some statements. They're letting people vote on the positions they take, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, a lot of the damage has already been done, but they're huge. Some of these financial firms have huge influence, and they are becoming less and less of, a full service provider to people and more of an advocacy group for their preferred politics. So to me, that's a real threat to a thriving and vibrant and free economy. So obviously, I'm not a fan. Right quick, we've also seen, just finishing up, some of the news of the week, few little sound bites here that I thought would be a few little sound bites. This week, something pretty significant happened. Fitch downgraded U.S. debt credit rating. Now, credit rating is kind of an indicator of how able the corporation or government is to repay its debt. Now, we all know the U.S. government owns the printing presses and can generate money to pay back the debt. So some people say they'll never default. But if inflation gets to the point where you're being paid back in money that only purchases a fraction of what you originally lent, is that really getting paid back? Or we've seen the soaring debt, soaring interest costs to where, maybe there is some doubt if they are going to be able to generate enough taxes to cover their interest expense. If they have to start borrowing to pay interest expense, I mean, that's purely third world nation stuff. That just never lasts long, never lasts long or turns out well.
Okay, so the debt ceiling.
To what?
The debt ceiling.
What about
the
it?
The debt ceiling.
What about it?
Will they continue to raise it, do you think?
Oh, right now they have removed it for 2 years. There is no debt ceiling.
What?
That was in the debt agreement a month ago.
I missed that somehow. Okay.
Yeah, there's no debt ceiling for 2 years, which I've got more to comment on that once we start talking about debt. But real quickly, obviously there's been a decline in new home construction and permits. We've seen higher mortgage rates, but the thing is, mortgage rates are being pushed even higher by the downgrade of U.S. debt, because mortgages price over the U.S. Treasury curve. So what does that mean? Well, let me see if I can get this to work. Actually, that's probably going to be more trouble than what it's worth. If you plot a maturity of every outstanding U.S. government bond, short-term, medium-term, long-term, you get an upward sloping graph. And historically, this is for each maturity, whether it's 3 weeks, 6 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. These have been considered risk-free securities. Risk-free meaning bankruptcy risk-free, because the U.S. government has the printing presses, can always pay you back. So they're considered, for their maturity, at each maturity, the safest security in the world, the lowest risk security in the world. Well, every other bond, every other debt prices at a spread over the Treasury curve. And mortgages have an average life of about 10 years. So if you take out a 30-year mortgage and do it with 10,000 other people, the average maturity before that note is paid off is 10 years in mass. Because people outgrow their houses, they die, they get moved for business, whatever. So mortgages price over the 10-year Treasury. And when the 10-year Treasury rate increases, then mortgage rates increase. Hence, mortgages continued to increase this year, pushing the median house payment, which is now about $2,650, up 67% from 2021. The monthly mortgage payment has increased 67% in 2 years. It's up 80% since 2020. You know, people thought buying a home was out of their reach, you know, a few months ago. It's only getting worse and still probably going to get even worse. But bottom line, buying a home is now a luxury.
Hmm?
Out of the reach of the median family, the median household. So that's kind of interesting. Crazy Cat Queen, 32,670,000,000,000 in U.S. debt.
Ish.
Big ish right there. So we're going to talk about U.S. debt tonight, or that's on the agenda.
All right, Crazy Cat Queen, did you hear about the 2 years of no debt ceiling? Because that was news to me. I mean, that's insane. Dyshydratic. Okay, that's what I thought. Dysfunctional sweat. All right. But I sweat a lot. Like a lot. But they're like, there's no reason. And they're like, okay, you were a hairstylist and you used to clean houses, so that all those chemicals created that issue. And then I also detailed boats and cars when I was in high school. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you know more than I do about this because, well, you're an MD. Oh.
All right.
Hey,
Tonight Crazy Cat Queen. I don't know how to do that sound with my lips. As if the
if you
government
type it
actually
often
follows their
enough,
own
you
regulation.
should.
Do it.
You type it often enough, you should.
It's easier to type than it is to pronounce.
That's what it is.
Yeah, something like that. And true. It's not like the government or the Congress has to follow their own laws. We've seen them exclude themselves from a lot of the laws they pass, which personally I have a problem with. Now, so that's that's a brief overview. Don't you like how these brief overviews take an hour? It's a brief overview of some of the major events in the market tonight.
Because Ellen sees squirrel.
A little bit. Ellen is, like I say, Ellen is in charge of the entertainment. We mentioned that we would talk about two topics: seller inflation and the debt. Seller inflation we've been trying to get to for a week or two.
Sorry.
That's all right. KP's with me, as do I.
I know.
Thanks for the support. Now, seller inflation. Past few weeks have heard a lot of people talking about, even the administration is pushing the notion that inflation is due to producers raising their prices. Well, this idea comes from a paper published just a few months ago. And here it is. Sellers inflation, profits and conflict. Why can large firms hike prices in an emergency? By Isabella Weber and Evan Wasner. Now, these are economists at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And this paper was published, as you'll notice, 14th of April, 2023. So relatively recent development. But man, has it caught fire. It has taken off in public discussion, public commentary, political commentary, with a lot of people arguing that inflation is due to evil corporations, bad, mean, ugly corporations. Now, the journal it was published in, your first clue is that this was a neo-Keynesian journal. Okay. Not a big fan of the Keynesian school in general and the neo school in particular. These are the people that produce the economic forecast and the models that consistently fail to explain the economy we live in. Now, I don't know what it's like holding an idea, a theory, an ideology that constantly fails and trying to blame it on something other than poor theory. But nonetheless, these people have elevated it to an art. And this argument of seller's inflation is a good example of that. The notion, the idea, the concept is that sellers use price increases to enhance their profits. Okay. The argument is that corporate price increases, after what is known as shocks to the macroeconomy, after there's some sort of crisis in the economy as a whole, are not a unique response to inflation. That is, that corporations raise their prices not because of inflation. If you shuck it down to the cob, that sounds a little weird even on its face. But if you couch it in the right phraseology and ideology, then hey, it makes perfect sense. It's a neat little argument couched in a modestly vague theory that ultimately promotes more government control of the economy and monetary policy, because the neo-Keynesians believe that government can refine policy in enough detail to direct the economy in the direction or speed with which they think is best. They completely ignore the history of government control of the economy that leads repeatedly to scarcity and high inflation every time throughout history, every time. People are always saying, hey, we haven't tried this before. We haven't, tried it in its full sense or best sense. Yes, we have repeatedly over 100 times, but quote unquote new theories keep arising. There is only really one result in government micromanaging an economy, and that is one: misery for the common people, and the elites and those in power enjoy greater wealth. Common people, not so much. So Weber is arguing for government, for example, government price controls. Same thing we tried in the 70s, which in the 70s and every other time they've been tried in history result in greater inflation. Why do price controls result in greater inflation?
Because the government controls how high the price is.
Well, think about it. You're a manufacturer, and you've just had increases in raw goods, mm-hmm. increases in labor. And then all of a sudden the government implements price controls. You can't pass those increases on to others, on to the consumers.
But can't they help regulate the price by what it costs them to make the goods?
No, the price is locked.
No. Okay.
So they can't pass on those costs. So if they can't make a profit, what do they do? If you can't make a profit producing something, what do you do?
Fire people. Or stop
fire people, you quit producing.
Yeah.
You're not going to sell something at a loss. So production drops, supply drops. What happens when supply drops and demand stays constant? Supply and demand
Prices
is always
go
a
up.
law. Prices go up. So as soon as the price controls are lifted because there's no supply, prices soar. Excuse me. So price controls.
Crazy cat queen cough there.
Sorry about that. Price controls fail to do what they claim they do: control prices. Now, Weber's making an argument basically that due to the COVID supply disruptions, the war in Ukraine, that these caused inflation by decreasing supply. And then you had the stimulus checks boosted demand, consumer spending power. Well, the idea is that sellers took advantage of this and created the sustained inflation, which we've seen over the past 2 years. The corporations become the villains who exploit the situation, particularly those, she argues, in more concentrated industries. Concentrated industries are industries where there are very few producers. So you've only got a few major corporations producing goods in those areas. And her argument is that the inflationary environment provides kind of a plausible deniability for the corporations that they're screwing over their customers. So they hike prices just because they can, not because they need to. Well, it's that very same underlying theory, which is the major weakness to the argument. And, you know, in economic theory, I'm always saying, if you want to understand economic theory, just personalize it. You know, what would you do? How would you respond to this? So Weber is arguing that unit price increases are the same as aggregate price increases. In other words, she says she's arguing that a price increase for one product is the same as an increase on all products. Let me give you an example of what I mean. We just talked about energy, so let's stick with that. Suppose, for example, Exxon or Chevron decides to hike their gas prices just for the fun of it. Just for the fun of it. Do the other hundreds of companies follow suit? Or do they enjoy having customers start buying their products instead of Exxon's? Does Exxon hiking its gas prices cause everyone else to do the same? No, it doesn't. But that's Weber's argument, is that because one company, one unit increases its prices, other companies see that and say, hey, this is a great opportunity. There's an emergency going on. There's a crisis going on. We can hike prices, and because of the crisis, nobody will even notice. They won't blame us.
Well, I mean, that's like, I don't know if y'all have Gov't in your area, but they actually stopped selling gas during Florence because they were like, we're not going to pay the prices for the fuel, and we're not going to charge our customers that much for the fuel, so y'all can suck it.
Yeah, in free markets, consumers direct their business toward products that offer the best value. And think about it. Are you going to buy something that is from a producer you don't trust or you don't like if you have a choice? If you think a company is screwing you, are you going to buy their products? Companies in a free market are incentivized to deliver more goods and better goods at a cheaper price. I mean, look what's happened to, for example, computing over the past 30 years. I bought one of the first Macintoshes. Little black and white screen.
He still has it.
Little black and white screen, has a little floppy drive. It took remember what the 3.5-inch floppy drives were? They held 128K, not megs, kilobytes, a tenth of a megabyte. Now we've got jump drives that hold gigabytes. I don't even know what the biggest one is now, 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes on a jump drive. I don't even know.
It's more.
So you're talking about a fraction, small fraction of that size on a floppy drive. So you insert one floppy drive to start it up, pull that floppy drive out, insert a floppy drive for your program like a spreadsheet or a word processor. Type what you want to type, pull that out, put in another floppy to save that to your drive. Save that to your disk. That baby cost me $2,500. back in 1985.
And he still has it. And it
You're
still
damn right I
works.
still have it.
And it still
Not,
works.
not only that, I bought a hard drive. It looks like a concrete block. It's about the size of a concrete block. 20 megs, not gigs, megs. You can't even buy anything now that's that small. But I was so far ahead of my time. That was the coolest thing back then, a hard drive.
All right, I've got a comment here. Hey, let me put my 2 cents in, and then you can come back at me and tell me why I'm wrong. We are a capitalist society. Can we really get ticked off if producers want to increase the prices to the levels that people are willing to pay? It is the nature of business, for sure. But when you start taking advantage of people, people can say, we ain't going to pay it anymore. Like, we're just done. We know, but there is a fine line between what we think we can afford and what we're willing to pay. That is, and when people abuse the capitalist market, especially when Clay was talking about like in a crisis, if there is a major issue and
my point is they don't.
What?
Okay. That's the point of this paper. So at least let me continue with this.
Okay.
Let me interrupt you and let me continue with this to finish the explanation. Free markets. So look at what's happened to computer speed, power, and price. From 1985, 1980s, when they first, started becoming common goods, they have tremendously increased in speed and power and storage and capability, and the price has crashed, particularly when you take into consideration the improvement in performance. That's what happens in competitive markets. There are no monopolies in free markets, only in socialist or communist economies. If one company controls the market, then yes, they can control pricing. And a company may come up with a new product. It may be the only one producing that for a while. But if they are making huge profits, that's a signal to other companies to try to come up with a substitute or a competitor. And that's when you start seeing the quality of the products improve, the variety of the products improve, the price of the products start to drop. That's when you start seeing cheaper goods. But the point is, the paper, Weber's paper, is arguing that an increase in a unit good increases prices for the aggregate. Okay? That doesn't happen. McDonald's CEO was on a month ago talking about how diners are less likely to add extras like French fries because they've had to hike the prices on the burgers. I remember when they first hiked the prices on their dollar menu, they lost business. People would run and grab a burger for $1, but when it was $1.25, fewer people went. They lost business.
You can get a burger, a double cheeseburger, a fry, and a large sweet tea for $3.
Yeah. Not anymore.
That was kind of cool.
The fact is, the prices of aggregate goods are set by millions of people making decisions in their best interest every day. It's Adam Smith's invisible hand. Anybody know where invisible hand comes from?
Adam Smith.
Anybody know who Adam Smith is?
He was an economist. I do know that.
Do what?
He was an economist, and I do remember learning about him in high school, but I can't remember exactly what his
Adam Smith is the father of capitalism.
Oh, see, there you go.
He described the workings of the invisible hand, which to me is a form of greed. Okay? All you greedy little capitalist pigs out there, you make the world go round, and I love every one of you.
You bastards.
Greed. English language is a poor language. It's poor descriptive language. For example,
Wealth
love.
of Nations. Thank you, Crazy Cat.
What year was it written?
He's going to test you, Crazy Cat Queen.
1976. It was a very good year.
Yes, the year I was born. It's a hella good year.
I'm sorry, 1776. Sorry about that. But Adam Smith's invisible hand, greed. English is a poor language. For example, I can say, I love you. I love my house. I love my daughter. I love my parents. I love the dogs sometimes.
Wait, she just perked up. She was like, what? Do you love me, Daddy? Really?
But it's the same word, but it has different meanings.
Different meanings. Different connotations.
Different connotations. Same thing with greed. There is a greed that commends and a greed that condemns. There is a type of greed that is obsessive, where the thing you value most is money or material possessions. That's ultimately destructive. The type of greed I'm talking about is the type of greed where you value your time, your efforts, your earnings, and you look to take the money you earn and buy things that have commensurate value to you. Okay. So it is this consumers making choices in their best interest, having the freedom to choose among different products. Well, manufacturers look at this and they have to offer the product that offers the best value to the consumer. Now, you go in the grocery store and buy bread. There are 50,000 different loaves of bread, different types, different sizes, different colors, different prices. You can buy the 99-cent Wonder Bread for cheap. You can buy the $10 custom-made hand loaf, whatever. 40,000 grain bread, whatever you want to do. So what represents the best value? Well, it varies from consumer to consumer. That's why we have such choices. And it is consumers making that choice that force producers to try to find a way to offer the best value. And the best value can be the lowest price. It can be the best quality. It can be other features. But that's how the invisible hand works. And that pursuit of better value ultimately leads in higher standard of livings, lower prices, more flexibility. That's why capitalism and free markets produce higher standard of living than any other economic system ever devised. The whole Western society has been propelled into unheard of wealth and prosperity over the past 150 years compared to parts of the world that haven't adopted that same economic philosophy.
And it's, if you work your ass off and if you do all the things and you are a good person and do the right things, and you will absolutely succeed.
I can't say that. There are some people that work hard, that try hard, that things just don't fall in place. And I'm not saying capitalism is a perfect system. Sometimes capitalism can be a horrible system. It's just absolutely better than anything else out there. That's my point.
And it is, no doubt. But it's still a system where someone who does work their AWS off can succeed and live the American dream.
You've got to make good choices. You've got to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that, we've seen millions of immigrants. We've seen millions of poor, improve their standard of living and, realize the American dream.
When they believe, okay, and never mind. I'm not going to get into that. Go ahead. Move on.
Now, the prices of aggregate goods, all the goods, are set by millions of people. The invisible hand, people making the best choices for themselves. The one thing that can make, the only thing that can make all prices, the aggregate prices, rise in unison is the destruction of purchasing power due to the excess printing of money. In fact, inflation historically is defined as more money chasing fewer goods. Nobel Prize-winning economist Milton Friedman once said that inflation is always a monetary event caused by a more rapid increase in the supply of money than the supply of goods, than the quantity of output.
Supply
The
and
St. Louis
demand.
Fed, pardon?
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. Money has a supply and demand function, but the St. Louis Fed describes inflation the same way. It says off their own website, inflation is caused when the money supply in an economy grows at a faster rate than the economy's ability to produce goods and services. You simply don't see nationwide inflation anywhere in history coming from one company or a couple companies just deciding to arbitrarily raise their prices. We've seen throughout history in this country, in free markets, where one industry will have a supply issue. And so they'll have to raise their prices for that product. But that doesn't cause nationwide inflation. And that price increase is generally temporary until the supply issue or the labor issue is resolved. So, Weber's underlying theory is its undoing. Unit price increases don't cause aggregate price increases. I mean, Weber tries to argue, for example, that some industries have become too concentrated, too few firms competing, so it allows them to raise prices easier. Firm concentration was the same as it was in 2018 or 2019 as it was in 2022. Yet inflation was around 2% in those years. We didn't have 16% inflation. So did corporate concentration yield low inflation all through the 2010s, but all of a sudden explode in 22? Why would corporations feel compelled to wait for an emergency to try to raise prices? Were they motivated by social equity when they didn't in the 2010s? And then all of a sudden in 22, they just lost all morals and decided to screw their customers over? It strikes me as simply as just an odd position on corporate behavior to argue. So Weber is basically reduced to arguing that correlation is causation. And just because, what I mean when correlation is causation, two things can be correlated, move in the same direction at the same time, but that doesn't mean they're related, that they cause each other or one causes the other. For example, when I started taking econometrics, my econometrics professor would say there's an awful lot of things correlated to the migration of geese northward to Canada. And it's true, whether it's a positive correlation or a negative correlation. A lot of things are correlated to the migration of geese. Does that mean the migration of geese cause that effect? No, they have no relationship whatsoever. And so that's what we mean when we say correlation is not causation. But that's the heart of Weber's argument. Crazy Cat Queen. I ate a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches these days. So my fur babies eat really well. Top of the line cat and dog food.
I haven't had a response to that. Listen, this is like, I never bought baby food for my kids. I took what I was eating and put it in a blender and gave it to them when they could eat food. Well, you need to eat better then, because we can make a ton of food, and animals were not made to eat the kibbles that we purchase to give them. So, and if it's not good enough for If it's not good enough for them, it's not good enough for you. Look, little chicken, let's get this straight. You got to eat right. Put your mask on first. All right? I know you're doing all the things, but put your mask on first. And human food has a lot less empty calories than kibble. Just take whatever you're eating. Like if you make a few chicken breasts, take one chicken breast, put it in half, give it to your animals. They'll be happy. No doubt. I know Clay's like, Ellen, shut up. Okay. I'm done.
Crazy cat queen. My fur babies are not eating the crap I put in my body.
Then don't put the crap in your body.
Take care of yourself, crazy cat queen. All right, one kind of example, to I guess sum this up in some ways. Weber has a disagreement with how free markets, handle shortages of raw materials or greater demand for a product. How they her argument is that scarcity should be regulated. And I argue that higher profits are a signal for new entry, for substitutes, more competition. For example, a lot of people think, now we live in a hurricane-prone area, so, we're kind of attuned to this, but a lot of people think price gouging ought to be illegal. I don't. I think price gouging ought to be encouraged in an emergency. And people are going, you've lost your mind, just like Ellen.
Yeah, you have lost your mind. Why?
No. Because, and I did not save the article, but when Katrina hit New Orleans, one thing it did was flood the water treatment plants and destroy the power supply of the city. So there was no water available in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was an article about a poor farmer in Mississippi who saw that there was no water. He lived in the middle of Mississippi. And so he thought, well, this is an opportunity. So he had a kind of an old clunker truck, and he went and pawned everything he had that had any value to it and bought bottled water.
I'll be right back.
Then he drove down. Okay. Then he drove down to New Orleans and started selling this water for $10 a bottle. It cost him a quarter or 50 cents a bottle. So he was price gouging. But what he did was supply water where there was none. So, yeah, people don't like paying $10 a bottle for water, but that's better than not being able to buy water at all. Not only that, it increased the supply of water. So he makes good money on this first haul. He drives back up, doesn't take a nap or sleep. He reloads his car, his truck, even more cases because he's got more money, goes back down, sells it for 10, sells it for 8. He does that a number of times over the next few days, bringing truckloads of water to neighborhoods that had no water. So this ability to price gouge was a huge incentive for him and others to take risk and go to trouble they would not have otherwise done in order to grab some of the excess profits. In so doing, they increased supply and provided extremely necessary products and services when needed at great risk to themselves. So I don't see price gouging as a problem. I see it as a huge incentive for the market to respond even faster to correct the deficiency in goods. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm against price gouging laws. I think they ultimately do more harm than good because they cut supply when it's most necessary. Now, whoops, we got a doggy raid going on here. Doggy's all excited.
Yeah, Chuck's got to pee. But how about when it is summer and everybody wants to travel? Sorry. Hey. And sorry. Everybody wants to travel and the prices on fuel go up. Is that not price gouging?
No, supply and demand. Demand has increased, supply hasn't.
It hasn't.
And that keeps people from wasting gas because it's more expensive.
They've planned for that. They know that's when most people are going to want. Sorry, I'm having issues with my. Most people are going to want gas. So they save it up, charge more. You're screwed.
Nope.
No? You don't believe that's a thing?
Nope.
Okay. Cool.
Exxon makes about 6 cents
I'm talking about Exxon. I'm talking about
a gas company.
Okay.
Makes about 6 cents a gallon on each gallon of gas it sells. That doesn't really change during the summer. Well, part of what changes, one, is Congress has mandated a different formulation of gas during the summer months.
More taxes.
It's more expensive gas for them to produce and deliver. So yes, prices usually rise in the summer due to more expensive formulation, but Exxon makes 6 cents. The average taxes on gas in the country are 40 to 60 cents. In California, it approaches 90 cents or $1. So who's screwing who? You know, Exxon goes to all the trouble, all the risk, and they make 6 cents.
He's got to go out.
We'll take him out.
Come on, I'm going. Come on, let's go.
So welcome to my life, dogs. But yeah, I don't see price gouging as really a big problem. If somebody has the opportunity to price gouge, the market will address it quickly and probably a whole lot quicker than it would have if prices couldn't adjust. So, anybody have any questions? Does that make sense? Second topic we mentioned that we try to cover tonight. Debt. Good old U.S. debt. It's a big event this week with Fitch downgrading U.S. debt, which is a lower rating. The rating agency thinks the U.S. government's ability to make the debt payments is reduced with the increasing debt. And right before Fitch downgraded, interestingly, the Treasury announced new debt issuance that the Wall Street Journal described as eye-popping. Eye-popping. Over the next 3 months, the Treasury will issue $1 trillion in new debt, a little over $1 trillion in new debt. And the next quarter after that, another $850 billion. So that's $1.85 billion in new debt being issued in the next 5 months. This is 45% higher than the Treasury estimated a few months ago, before the Great Debt Agreement. So was the Treasury lying then, or did they all of a sudden have new information? Barclays, one of the primary banks, called the new issuance in treasuries a treasury tsunami. We're nearing the rate of borrowing $4 trillion a year. Now, keep in mind, in 2019, the total borrowing for the year was less than $1 trillion. Now, new releases also show that federal spending jumped 18% in June alone, to $650 billion, which is slightly under $8 trillion a year. Well, combine that with the good news that tax collections are about $4 trillion a year and actually falling. Tax collections were down 9% this past month. At this rate, the debt is the total amount we owe. The deficit is the annual difference. The deficit is already up 170% over last year. It's just going to blow the hell up. So this really begs the question, who's going to buy the debt? Who's going to buy all this debt? Now, over the past few decades, two biggest buyers have been China and Japan. They hold, I don't know, $2.5 trillion in debt, but both are having problems. The Bank of Japan, their central bank, just stated this week that they would let rates rise. Now, they have kept rates extremely low, even negative, for the past 10 years, past 20 years, maybe. But they're now saying that they're going to allow the rates to rise. They'll still be low, but huge increase over what it has been. So the rates on Japan's 10-year debt hit the highest levels they've seen in a decade. China's economy sucks. It's stagnant. It's a victim of its own strident policies and controls, along with longer-term effects of companies moving production out of China, away from China. So what does this mean? Basically, it means that China and Japan's demand for debt, for treasuries, for U.S. debt, is going to be limited, maybe very limited. Not only that, it may mean that both China and Japan become net sellers. So they're reducing what they own and increasing the supply of treasuries in the market. I keep going back to it, supply and demand. Always keep that in mind. But that's not all. There's more. There is still more. And we're here to show you the more. The Fed, our well-known, much-loved Federal Reserve, is still continuing QT, qualified tightening. Now, remember, we've talked about previously how the Fed has engaged in QE, quantitative expansion, which means that they have provided basically extremely cheap or borderline free money to the large banks, who then can lend it out at higher, at slightly higher rates, keeping the rates low. Well, instead of supplying and having cheap money, they've been hiking the rates. And one thing in QE that they would use to keep the rates down is they would buy debt. They would buy treasuries. They would buy agencies. They would buy mortgages. So supply and demand. Remember the teeter-totter for fixed income? It's the old seesaw. You were studying finance in kindergarten. You were on the teeter-totter. Well, that's a structural image of a bond. If you've got $1,000 bond at 10% interest, the fulcrum is the coupon, $100 a year. Well, if rates rise, it goes from 10% to 12%. What happens to the price? Well, the price goes down. Okay, yield and price move inversely, just like a teeter-totter. So if rates drop, price is going up. So supply and demand. If supply increases, what happens to price? Price drops. Same demand, supply increases. Treasuries issuing tons of new debt. China and Japan are selling debt. Supply increases, price is going to drop. So what happens to rates? They go up. Teeter-totter. Always when you're talking about bonds or mortgages, keep the teeter-totter in mind. So if China and Japan become net sellers, The Federal Reserve has a $9 trillion balance sheet. It owns $9 trillion of bonds. It's selling those off or letting those mature every month. It has been at the rate of about $30 billion a month. Well, that's going up to 55 or 65 billion a month in September. So the rate's going to accelerate even more. This is when the Treasury is going to be issuing tons of new debt. This is when China and Japan may start selling treasuries to raise money. So with all three of the major buyers of Treasury debt, the major buyers over the past decade, no longer buying, and all three selling, who in the hell is going to buy this eye-popping debt tsunami that the Treasury is about to unleash? Remember the teeter-totter? Supply increases, what happens to rates? Supply increases, price drops, rates go up. So what do you think? What do you think is going to happen over the next 5, 6, 7 months, next year, next couple of years to interest rates, to the cost of financing U.S. debt that's increasing? Crazy Cat Queen posted earlier, it was a little bit below 32.7 trillion. Well, we're on pace to increase our borrowings to $3 or $4 trillion a year. Plus interest cost is going to go up even more. Does this end well? I mean, I'm an old school guy, and I look at a lot of the bond traders and the positions they're taking. They're idiots. We have got absolute idiots trading bonds nowadays. They have never been in a market where risk was accurately priced. They don't consider it. They don't think about these historical pricing structures. And they think they're smarter and brighter than everybody else. So you haven't seen the market respond to what's coming down the pipe because they're oblivious to it. Or they think, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Well, there's Bill Ackerman, kind of one of the legends in fixed income in the bond world, manager of a huge bond portfolio, the other day said that he is going short treasuries. He points out that, inflation is likely going to rise due to deglobalization, energy policies, growing entitlements, worker raises. All of these are inflationary. Now, he also pointed out that treasuries are overbought with currently 33 trillion in debt, large deficits coming, higher refinancing rates due to an increasing supply of treasuries is guaranteed. Considering QT, Ackerman said, it's hard to imagine how the market absorbs such a large increase in supply without materially higher rates. So Ackerman's an old school guy like me. And I'm not saying our crystal ball is better than anybody else's, but I am saying our crystal ball is better than everybody else's. There's just practical realities in this world. There are some huge impacts, some huge changes ahead, structural changes ahead. And so far, the stock and bond market are almost oblivious to it. And it's not just Ackerman. Obviously, I'm a YouTube guy. I'm a professor at a university. Ignore the fact that I've been in the markets for 40 years as a trader, portfolio manager, whatever. but I've had my face kicked in. Ackerman is a legend, but it's not just Ackerman. Hedge funds have accumulated the largest short position in a decade, according to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. They produce a report, the COT report, COT report, and they detail, positions in the market among hedge funds. So Fitch is seeing all this and has started downgrading U.S. debt, fiscal deterioration, and a growing debt burden. Now, Fitch lowered U.S. debt to AA. AA. Normally, for corporate issuers, AA would mean you have a debt to income ratio of around 40%, or debt to asset ratio. We have currently a debt to GDP ratio of about 130%, which is almost third world nation. The surprise isn't to me that Fitch downgraded, it's that they didn't downgrade even more, and that S&P 500 and Moody's, two other credit evaluators, raters, haven't downgraded yet, haven't followed suit. We are almost to the point where we're going to spend more on interest. The government is going to spend more paying interest every year than what the whole nation spends on food or health care. Last year, food spending was at $1.1 trillion. We very likely will blow past that in interest payments this year. Healthcare spending is about $4 trillion. We will likely blow past that in 2 or 3 years on interest payments. It's going to be quite the show. So rates are continuing to rise, will continue to rise. And people are like, things are okay. The stock market's up. But what they ignore, and I pointed this out previously, is the stock market is up because 7 companies out of 500 have done exceedingly well. The other 493 are stuck in the mud. One of the major indexes is the NASDAQ 100. If you look at the earnings of the NASDAQ 100 companies, the earnings are down 24% so far this year. The median NASDAQ earnings is down 41%. Are we in a recession already? I mean, the numbers. So if China's out, Japan's out, the Fed's out, corporations are out, the only buyer left is the private sector, the private buyer, who's facing increased inflation, loss of jobs, seeing an increasingly risky and contentious government. Now, let me ask you, do you want to buy, or would you want to buy bonds from the U.S. government? I mean, some people will, but there's a lot of people that are going to look at the mess in D.C., going to look at the soaring debt, going to look at the dropping tax revenue and the struggling, stagnant economy and say, no thanks. So who the hell is going to buy all this? And this isn't going to happen in a month. This is 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. Remember last year when panic hit the UK debt market and rates increased 150% in 2 months, in a couple of months? Think about it. This put banks and pension funds at risk of bankruptcy. Again, more third world kind of stuff. So the Bank of England, the Exchequer, had to reverse policy, cancel planned tax cuts, et cetera, do some stimulus, provide some, backstop funds. Keep in mind, we're in worse financial shape than the UK was. So bottom line, once all this starts hitting the fan, Does the Treasury and the Federal Reserve have to step in again to bail out everyone? I mean, retirement plans start failing, banks start failing. Oh, wait,
Social Security.
kind of stimulus and money supply during COVID? Oh, wait, didn't that create the double-digit inflation? Oh, wait, isn't that what caused rates to have to hike, to increase?
Wait, and didn't the government pay for all those COVID vaccines?
Yeah. So the question is, can we continue repeating this cycle? Inflation, higher rates, bailouts, more inflation, downgrades, stagnating economy, higher rates, bailouts, inflation. Sooner
Wait,
or later,
I've got an idea. Stop paying for abortions.
sooner or later, there is a cost to all of this. There's a bill to be paid one way or another. The real question is, do we take our meds now or do we wait? Do we pass the buck? Do we address it now or not? Do we pass the bill to the next generation? There are no good answers. I don't have good, easy answers. There's no easy answer.
The only answer I've
So,
got is if you dance with the devil don't change. The devil changes you.
yeah.
And I think that the devil has gotten into our government. And I don't mean to be too religious with you guys, but it's like we pay for a lot of things that aren't good, such as vaccines that aren't approved and abortions.
Well, there's a whole lot that
So
we do. We subsidize inefficiency. We pay people not to work.
that too.
We have institutionalized poverty, something we've never had before in our life, where, third, fourth, fifth generations are born in poverty and don't advance.
No, that was created back in the what, 50s, 60s, 70s?
No, 60s, 70s is when
When
upward mobility started to drop.
but I mean, especially with the Black population, and I don't mean that as a racial thing, but when did that begin? When we
Well, it
decided,
impacts all poor, black and white. And
but
upward mobility for the poor has pretty much ground to a halt. Now, the middle class kept advancing into the upper class. So the
we're not
middle
talking
class
about
has
it.
shrunk. Do what?
I said, I guess we're not talking about it, where we encouraged women to not have fathers in their homes. And it went from 70% or 80% fathers in homes, especially for Black families. Now it's the opposite, 20%. And that is something that the government did.
Yeah, there's a lot of repercussions to their policies. So obviously, the social experiment hasn't turned out well. Poverty has grown. Bottom line, poverty has grown. People aren't upwardly mobile. They don't value education.
No.
They have no hope of a better future. That is not historic America. There's a problem, obviously. We're doing things wrong. Now, the answers aren't simple. Can't always provide you with answers. But the idea of this, the reason we discuss this is we want you aware. We want you to know what's going on so that you can plan better for it, even if it's not pleasant. A lot of the stuff we say or cover is not necessarily enjoyable. My hope is down the road you will find it beneficial. And so that's why we have certain topics like tonight sometimes.
You want to do a quick game of yes or no?
Why not? Everybody up for a quick game of yes or no?
If y'all want us to, we will.
Crazy Cat Queen. To be fair, our nation doesn't value education either. Otherwise, accessibility to the same value of education would be equal for every child. Yeah, I'm a huge critic of education in this country. We have miserably failed to
Mhm.
encourage students to excel. We find ways to reward to incentivize their mediocrity. And I mean, it is tragic, the quality of some of the quote unquote graduates of the school systems.
I think KP wants some yes or no.
All right, let's do some yes or no.
All right, you got your little chip. All right, so you're answering for me, just so we're clear, and I'm answering for you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Being a man has helped my career. I'm going to say you're going to say yes.
I'm going to say you would say yes. And I would say no.
Because I'm not a man. Well, how the hell would that help my career?
Well, I would say you would say that being a man helps people's career.
I'm
And I would
not
say
entirely sure about that.
it has not helped my career. It has probably hindered it. I remember when I was trying to apply for medical school,
Mm-hmm.
I had to have better grades and a higher MCAT than other competitors because I was a male. There have been a few times where there were certain burdens imposed because I was male that if I had not been male would not have been imposed. I remember one of my exes was an engineer.
Lived in Texas. Sorry, go ahead.
And she literally could get numerous job offers, sight unseen, by just sending out a resume within 2 weeks. It didn't matter her experience or qualifications or whatever. There were certain jobs government jobs where you had to have, for example, a certain number of females. And there obviously weren't many female engineers back then. So if I'd have been a male engineer competing against her, would have never gotten a look. So, that knife cuts both ways.
True. You ready for the next?
Yeah, KP, trust me, this welfare policy knows no race. I see it every day in court.
Oh, I
Exactly.
have no doubt.
Crazy Cat Queen. When Murdaugh has a tablet issued to him in prison, the kids down the road don't, well, you know how I feel.
Yep.
I would actually like to see calculators and computers pulled out of schools, particularly elementary schools. Kids,
they don't know how to do the work anymore.
Yeah, they can't they can't do simple math in their head. They really don't have to learn math. They don't have to learn proper grammar. They rely too much on spell check. All these sort of things, and they're not learning the basic skills.
They need
just
to.
becoming more and more reliant on computers and visual stimulation, constant activity. We're training them not to be able to focus or concentrate. My opinion. Next question.
Okay. I have quit a job with less than 2 weeks notice. Correct. You?
Never have.
Quit a job or
with less than 2 week notice.
I hadn't either. Okay. Now I've offered it, but not always been accepted.
Crazy Cat Queen. Yes.
There you go. All right.
Is there a story behind there?
I think she just agrees with you about what you were saying about the kids. being able to actually do things. Then we got no. I don't know what y'all are talking about anymore. All right. How about this?
Y'all
If
give us
it's
a
a
little bit more
yes,
detail on the answers.
if you're talking about the cards that were the questions that we're asking on the cards, 1 for yes, 2 for no.
No.
If we're
Just
talking
explain.
about if we're talking
Give us a
about
little
something else,
explanation.
okay, that's fine. All right. Getting married and being a mother is the highest aspiration in life for a woman. How would you answer this? I think you're going to say
The word I'm choking on
you're wrong.
is aspiration. I would say reward. I don't think a lot of women, particularly nowadays, aspire to that. I do think most of, like my daughter, when she was 18, she was like, Dad, I don't know if I'll ever have kids. Okay.
But
She was,
now she's got 2 and she was a stay-at-home mom and now she has hobbies. So,
oh,
yeah.
she loves it. She absolutely adores being a mom. So, the key word to me was aspire. It really depends on, that's a tricky word.
You can aspire to be other things. I guess I just love my little 2 babies so much.
Yeah,
I guess
that's why I
they're
would say
adults now.
reward, the greatest
Yeah,
reward. I know as a father, my
true.
greatest accomplishment, I'm very simple. My greatest accomplishment in life was my baby. Always will be. It doesn't matter what else I do or did or have done or will do. My baby. So words to me, I'm parsing words,
All
admittedly,
right.
but that's a big deal.
Well, this one should be easy. Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time.
Well, your
I know what
answer
you're
is
going to say.
easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yours, you're
Of
going
course
to say
he's not.
no.
Of course he's not.
Okay.
That would be Charles Barkley. Or kid that just entered the league who's going to be a stud, Jabari Smith.
Okay. Whatever.
KP, I'm choking on aspiration too. I think it is beautiful to be a good wife and mom, but there are other things in life. Greatest reward, yes.
True.
Yeah,
That's the catch 22. It's
yeah. I think there are some really great other outstanding things to be. And I will say I've got some good friends who don't want to have kids. One of them, several former students that I'm close to. One of them is, I don't know, 30, 32, never had kids, doesn't want kids. More power to her. I tell her she's killing the economy, but that's okay.
okay. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, yes, he's very good, KP. But you got to understand, I'm from North Carolina and I've lived in Wilmington for a very long time, which is where Michael Jordan is from. So yeah, he's the greatest of all time. Crazy Cat Queen's
Dr.
dying.
J.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. J over
All right.
Kareem. Got to go with Dr. J. Starting an
Okay.
argument here.
I
Still
will
love you,
shut all
KP.
y'all. I will shut all you down. Kobe Bryant. Y'all hush. He's dead. You can't say that. He passed in that awful. See, everybody's quiet now. All right. DEI is just a form of racism. Correct.
Yeah. It depends on how you define racism nowadays, but I use, Martin Luther King's definition when he said he longed for a time when people were judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. So any judgment or evaluation that's based on the amount of pigment in one's skin, irregardless of who's doing it, I would describe that as racism.
DEI
What?
is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which means
Yes.
you include all genders and pronouns and races and all the things. It's a mess.
Crazy Cat Queen, being a nerd, but fun fact, aspiration
Nope,
is
sorry.
breathing in, aka
Yeah.
choking, foreign substance. It also is that. True. You would
And
know we have a doctor in the house.
so can having children be the same thing. I'm not lying. All right. I know exactly what Clay is going to answer to this one. And y'all are going to be mad. Dogs go to heaven.
Yeah.
They're going to hate you for that one.
Yeah.
Clay
Dogs, when they
does not
cross the
believe that.
rainbow bridge, it's miles from nowhere.
He thinks they have no soul.
They have no soul.
Y'all can be mad now.
I think humans are
Thank
unique.
you, KP. I agree. This is the one sticking point that Clay and I have about animals. He's like, no, they don't go to heaven. They're just here and they pass and they're gone and we go to heaven. I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not how this works. That is not how this shit works. Anyhow. All right, next one. We should imprison everyone who drives slow in the fast lane.
I wish this had like hell yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that is just okay.
What's the song by the former Black Eyed Peas girls? Get your slow ass home.
Out of my lane. What?
Take your slow ass home. One of her songs, she starts off. I forget.
I don't think that's exactly. There's take your broke ass home. But
Yeah, that's it. Same thing. Broke, slow, same thing.
I am crossing Rainbow Bridge too when I die, Crazy Cat Queen. Yes. Yes. The slothy drivers. I mean, I'm like, get the left lane, in case anyone is not unaware, is for passing. It's a passing lane. Once you pass, you get back in the right lane and you go until you have moved on to someone else and then you pass them. And KP and Crazy Cat Queen, I will see you across that rainbow bridge. Unfortunately, Clay will not because he's too good for doggy kitty heaven.
I would love to see some of my pets again. I just not
Well,
really expecting to. I enjoyed my time with them. And I miss
that's a
them.
whole nother discussion about your reasons for believing that. All right. Bigfoot more than likely exists.
Yeah. 100 years of searching him, no evidence. I'm like, it's kind of the 1,000,000 to 1 shot. And I'm not, who's the comedian? So you're saying there's a chance. Was that
Dumb
from
and
Dumb and
Dumber.
Dumber?
Yeah, Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
All right. The CIA. Oh,
Crazy
the
Cat
CIA.
Queen's joining with us on the.
Nope. The CIA killed JFK.
Oh, you? I'm supposed to answer for you. You'll say yes.
You will too. No?
No, I don't know.
His
I honestly don't know.
autopsy showed two bullet entrances from two different angles. Hell, yes, they did.
Where did you get that on his autopsy?
It's been released to the public. Thank
No.
you, Crazy Cat Queen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
I would.
I'm saying it's possible. I just haven't seen sufficient evidence.
Well, you need to look into the autopsy. Now, I would ask this next one, but I can't pronounce it. So I'm going to give, can you, I'm
Nope,
trying
can't
here.
see it. Too much
Hang
glare.
on. I'm
I
working
think
on
all
it.
of y'all are united. They also killed Bobby Kennedy.
There you go. Can you see it?
Nope.
You took me off. Thanks.
Whoops. Yep, wrong one. I was trying to blow up your screen, but couldn't do it.
Well, I can, I think. Thank you. Let's try this.
Too much glare. Can't see it.
You should be able to see it. Extra.
Can't see it.
I can see it on my screen. Why can't you?
Well, I'm glad you can. I can't.
Is that better?
Extra. Pull it down a little bit. Extra ecclesian nulla status.
Nulla salus. You know Latin. Any ideas what that means?
No, not of status. No, not a good guess.
All right, then. Next one. Where's my little chippy chip? There it is. All right. It's perfectly ethical to lie about your height on a dating app.
Well, if they're going to put up fake pictures, what the hell?
No, it's no. I guess we both got that one wrong. All right. Yoga is a demonic liturgy. Wrong.
Yeah, it depends. Yoga itself is to me, is just the stretching, the physical part. Now, if you get
It's not
involved
stretching.
in the spiritual aspects, then I would say yes.
You don't even have to know that you're participating in it. Is that what it means? Outside the church, there is no salvation? Which church?
That would be the Catholic Church, the ecclesiastical church.
Then I would say no. Wait. I'm doing the negative, double negative thing. Hang on.
Or the true church. Depends on who wrote it.
No.
Don't know who wrote it.
It's from a Catholic. I don't agree with the statement. How about that?
Okay.
Yoga is a demonic liturgy.
I'm going to claim that Crazy Cat Queen was agreeing with me on the dating app. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, yoga, every position is summoning another god, a satanic being.
Yeah, we might differ on that.
Well,
KP, it's just stretching, and you can do that without the spiritual component. That's probably my position, pretty close to it.
we can agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
It's all good. Okay, dogs do not belong in the bed. Correct. You're on. I'm no.
Yeah, I've never found a way to keep them out of the bed. Little sneaky bastards get up there when I go to sleep.
Like the
It's
big
funny
sneaky bastard when he comes
when I
over.
had Thor. Thor was about 150 pounds when I had him. And he would start out on the floor next to the bed. And then when I was asleep, he would like, and I'm a very light sleeper. I've always been a very light sleeper since I brought my baby home from the hospital. But I could feel him put one paw on, put the other paw on. He'd gently kind of try to lift himself up. Then he'd stand like right next to me, and then just fall on me, 150 pounds falling on my chest, and then slide down so he could be as close to me as possible. It was, I would say it was hilarious if it wasn't so damned irritating.
Now Chunk does it.
And KP, forgive me for doubling down on religion, but you can only find salvation in Jesus Christ.
I agree.
My views are traditional on that. I agree. Probably a lot of people disagree. And I do believe everybody is responsible for their own finding their own path or whatever, making their own decisions. So not going to part with anybody because they disagree with me on that, but everybody has to make the best decision they can. That's funny because the original ecclesia is Greek for assembly, not church. And this where the ecclesiastical comes from. The assembly of the faithful. Dogs absolutely belong snuggling in the people bed because dogs are people too, right? Crazy Cat Queen. I was laughing about yoga. Well, I like my explanation better. And
Absolutely,
we get some
KP.
cheering for KP. And I think Ellen is cheering for, oh, no, KP, I agree on JC. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all the questions?
No. Matt Walsh is correct. Aliens exist.
Well, if you trust the government.
I think you would say no. I would say yes.
I would say yes.
Really?
Actually, I've been to Roswell and was talking with a guy. He was the president of a bank there. And the Roswell crash happened when he was a kid. And as soon as it happened, of course, all the kids were out there running around the crash site looking before the army came and sealed off the whole area. And he said he grabbed a piece. He said he didn't see any bodies or major structures, but he found a piece of metal. And so he took it and went to the machine shop there in town and asked the guy if he knew what this was. And the guy took it and took a torch to it, acetylene torch. And he was holding it by hand and heating it, trying to cut it with the acetylene torch. He couldn't cut it, and the metal never heated up. So, according to his experience, he had never seen or knew of any metal that would react such. So the guy I was talking to said, I can't promise you it was alien, but I guarantee you it wasn't a weather balloon.
I want to say hello to 5 Oink Tunes, who has joined us. I don't think we have seen you here before, and we really appreciate you being here. Thank you. I also want to say that I have, living on the coast as long as I have, and especially the place that I was in, I have seen, and my children have seen, things that we cannot explain. We don't, let's just say football shaped objects that were silver that were there and then they were gone. There's just a lot of weird stuff we've seen, and we lived closer to a base, and you know, there are just things that cannot be explained. So, and it is an awful waste of space. So,
Yeah, and I'd like to say hey to Vibe Oink Tunes as well. Thanks for saying hey. Thanks for coming by and stopping by. Glad to have you. Welcome to the little family.
yes, you're always welcome. All right.
We have a very interesting collection of people and personalities who are regulars with us, and we we greatly enjoy them all, each and every one.
We
So
do, and we
welcome.
try to, Clay and I don't agree on everything. I think we have basic principles that we agree on. But I hope this is a place that you can see two people that don't always agree, argue in a way that is not uncivil.
Yeah, I don't even agree with myself all the time. Seriously. But I'm constantly evaluating what I see and believe and think. I will amend my beliefs to the facts as I know them.
All right, crazy cat queen. Oh, okay.
Whoops. Sorry. Got the wrong one. How do aliens fit into your faith? Well, there is nothing in the Bible that excludes other races. And I'm trying to think the passage in Genesis, remembering my Hebrew, when he talks about, it's the second chapter of Genesis, third chapter of Genesis, talking about populating the earth. The word in the Hebrew is actually repopulate. So there's some allowance there for prior generations, other races, other lives, whatever. They're just things I can't answer with great certainty. And where the Bible is silent, I can't
We can't
speak.
assume.
Yeah. So I'm open to the idea, not a firm believer, but there's some weird things I can't explain, like Ellen was saying. And some people who are in the area with some degree of knowledge or information that I've met are pretty convinced there is something else. So I can't offer any proof or evidence,
All right,
but I'm probably more inclined to think it possible.
Vibe Oink Tunes. I'm going to get right back to your question in a second, but I'm going to go with this one real quick. How do they contact JC? Well, okay, God created the earth and he created man. We don't know that we were the first planet that he populated, do we? I mean, is that ever said anywhere?
No, there's no specific discussion in the Bible that I'm aware of.
And in my faith, what I believe is that God took a human form, or at least a part of him took a human form to come down to earth. So I don't know how many times that's happened. I don't know where that's happened. I can't speak from anything except for the Bible that we have from people that lived here on earth. So, I mean, to me, it's a crazy, thing to kind of think about. But there's nothing in the Bible that says that we are the only one. We are the only planet that has life.
Yeah, and please understand, I can't take God and put him in a test tube. First of all, he wouldn't be God if I could. But secondly, a large part of my belief is simple faith. I look at my daughter. I look at Ellen. I look at other people, the janitors, whatever. And in my heart of hearts, I know that they are of infinite value, that they are worth more than a blade of grass or a worm or any other animal. And as such, I treat all people, insofar as reasonably possible, with the respect due a creature of infinite value. I try to respect them in that order, though some make it a little bit more difficult than others. So I can't, my belief in the Bible unifies the world as I see it. It helps the world as I perceive it and experience it make sense. It brings order to what I see, experience, and understand. So, a large part of my belief is because it jives. Doesn't mean I can answer every question. I can't. Viboink. Got to find out how you came up with that name. Hell of a name. I think the alien phenomenon is demonic and can be used as a major psyop by people in power. I can't prove it's not.
We can't, but can I give I have a hard time with people, not with you, I mean, government assuming that every, thing they can explain must be evil, must be here to hurt us, must be here to destroy things, must be here to take over power, must be here to make a mess. I mean, if there are beings that can travel and have the technology to travel from other planets to here, I would think that God created them. A. B. I would think that they were here to help and not hurt. At least that's what I would hope. I think it is detrimental to the planet to attack something we know nothing about. I think it's detrimental to the planet to assume, because you know how we assume, to assume that everything that comes from something that we don't understand, oh God, don't go there, is something that's going to hurt us. I don't think God would create civilizations to destroy others, even though we tend to do that here on Earth. I don't think that is his plan. I don't think that he would advance a civilization to the point that it would come and destroy another.
All I know is...
Do we have to go here, really?
All I know is we owe this woman an apology. She was right. She was... time.
Okay, whatever.
Whoever she is.
No, and I do.
Got a few other comments here.
No, I do. I do think that evil is real. And I do think that, can we get back to that real quick? And I do think that there is, some spiritual warfare going on right now. And I think that it's going to continue to go on, because I think that there are demons, even though you don't see them. But the devil never comes dressed as something that you're afraid of. The devil always comes dressed as everything you ever wanted. So that's my 2 cents.
KP, I think God has the amazing capacity to create, could very well have created other beings somewhere else.
Why not?
If he is a God, yes, he can. Viboink, praise God for his steadfast, everlasting love and faithfulness. Amen.
Amen.
Just a reminder, the Bible was put together in its current form by a bunch of rich, powerful men in the 4th century. This is how the Catholic Church started. We may have a night and talk about the Nicene, the Council of Nicene.
Don't get Clay and I. Clay and I have very different views on that. Don't get us started. That will be a members only when we get to that point. If y'all want to see us duke it out, that's going to be it. That will be, yeah.
History is history.
It is. But how people see it is very different.
Vibe oink tunes. Possible. Something that powerful could likely do if they could.
Mm-hmm.
KP, I get you, Cat Queen. The Holy Spirit is the great comforter and able to connect and relate to us despite human interpretations.
Yep.
God did create all things. I was laughing at this. Oh no, this lady.
Yeah, no kidding, right? He had to do that. I don't know why.
Listen, y'all owe this lady an apology. She got knocked and she was right. She knew what she was talking about.
No one has been able to find her yet.
She's a hero.
Clay. She's a drunk hero. You're right.
She wasn't drunk. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying demons are real and parade around as angels of light.
We addressed that, yeah.
Yeah. Vibe Oink has my back. She was. She's is the new hit.
Oh, I'm over
I want her autograph. Crazy
find
Cat
her.
Queen.
Someone find
KP.
her.
From KP, Crazy Cat Queen. It's my experience. The Holy Spirit can fill in the blanks because he can speak to our individual hearts.
True that.
And then we get the puppies. Now, did that come up when I threw this girl up?
No.
Are you talking about?
You just keep wanting to put her up there because you keep wanting to make a point. No. Next question. All right, Clay. I know the answer to this for you. I would date a liberal. Oh, hell no, I wouldn't either. You would.
I actually have. I used to date a
I know. That's why
hippie socialist, maybe socialist yoga master, English professor. I mean,
so an
literally about as
demon.
liberal as you can get. Went to hot yoga with her. Cussing the whole time, sweating like a pig. But the basic
praying to false gods.
Basic thing was we came to the understanding that we each wanted the same outcomes. You know, we want peace, we want less poverty, we want, poor people fed, et cetera, taken care of. We just had a different path to doing that. She's dear sweet soul, great person. But yeah, she was on the exact opposite of the spectrum as me. So have done that.
All right. Next.
Crazy Cat Queen. I heard the puppies behind Ellen earlier. I'm easily distracted.
Me too.
I understand that fully, having, been with Ellen for a little while. Squirrels.
Squirrel. But I like the cookie.
That is the point of hot yoga, sweating. I mean, I literally had a puddle next to me. And
you ain't never sweated as much as I do on a usual day.
Greatly expanded the vocabulary of a number of ladies there in the room during that time as well.
I can't even imagine.
We love the puppies. Who dares
I got an
me?
easy one.
I got an easy
one. Stop it. Clay. Moffat. I will say your middle name on this channel. Don't make me go there. He shut up real quick then. All right.
No. She forgets who controls the mic sometimes. We just need little gentle reminders.
Do we now?
Yes, we do.
Oh, you could. Oh, you bastard. All right. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The FDA should ban mayo.
And hell to the yes.
Clay.
Everybody that eats that crap dies.
Ugh. Clay is a Miracle Whip human. I am a Duke's girl. I love my
Oh wait,
Duke's
I got
mayonnaise.
support here. I got the
Dukes.
sisters coming through. KP, Crazy Cat
Y'all
Queen.
don't like mayonnaise? What is wrong with y'all? I thought you were my girls. Dadgummit. Thank you. It's one of the Lord's finer things. Thank you,
A
KP.
heretic has entered the chat.
It was the FDA should ban mayo. Ban it. Y'all can't see that, Katie. There you go.
Yeah, mayo's nasty. That's why God created Miracle Whip.
I love mayo. I love my Dukes. My Dukes mayo.
Another one. I am not a fan. There you go.
What?
The case is rested.
Toots are in California. I'm kidding. It's a joke. I'm just joking.
Crazy Cat Queen Clay. I eat both. Also, everyone that eats dies.
That's true. Have you picked out your bug selection for the future?
Death.
Have you picked out your bug selection for the future? Because I ain't into that. Okay.
I've eaten bugs before. Don't knock it till you try it.
I've eaten dirt before, but I'm not saying I would want to do it again. You know what I mean? All right.
Only aioli from Toots.
Only aioli. Aioli instead of mayonnaise.
That sounds like a song.
Mayo. No, it's a sauce.
Only aioli.
It's like a mayonnaise-based sauce. My bugs will be covered in Miracle Whip. Well, you and Clay can go meet somewhere and hang out with all the Miracle
of the night. Miracle Whip overcomes all evil.
Oh, it's got too much sugar. Anyway.
It has no sugar in it.
Yes, it
does. It's just naturally sweet because the Almighty blessed it.
No, it has more sugar than mayonnaise. We've been through this before. Anyway, the founding fathers were awesome.
Is that really a question?
Yeah.
You really picked that question out.
Listen, I know what the phrase New World Order means. There you go. Yes, KP. It tastes super sugary because it is.
No. Yes and a yes from Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy Cat Queen. Let me complete that.
Now, I really want to get Crazy Cat Queen's answer to this one. New World Order, NWO. Same as a Great Reset. Tangy. Tangy. It's sweet tangy. That is not. And it's got, oh God, stop it.
What?
All right. I want to know everyone's answer on this one. All right. It's sweet. It's so sweet. There are valid reasons for hiding money from your spouse.
Yeah. I would say, for example, for a Christmas expense, or if you have an abusive spouse and you are trying to get away.
I knew Crazy Cat Queen would be like, hell yes.
Now, if you've got a good and healthy arrangement, you love each other, you want to keep it going, no.
If
I
you're
do
scared
think
he or she
I do
might
think
kill you, yes.
yeah. I do think both need their own money.
Mhm.
So, but I don't think in a good marriage there ought to be a whole lot of secrets or hidden stuff going on.
Okay, everybody says yes except for Toots. Toots, you gotta, yeah, but we'll talk about that. We'll get there. You
Just
got
to
to
make
at
sure
some point.
everybody knows,
Oh God,
it's
I know.
tangy.
He's always gonna stand up for Miracle Whip, no matter what. All right. Should we do one more or two more?
All right,
We'll
let's
do
do
two
two
more.
more since you got them.
All right.
If you got
I
them,
have
roll them.
lost. I do. I have lost friends or family members due to my political views. I have. Yes. Have you?
No, not that I can
Oh,
think of. I
I've
mean,
lost
everybody that
family.
knows me knows I'm pretty much an asshole anyway, so they go ahead and
Oh, I
accept that up
forgot.
front.
You don't have that many friends and family. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I am very
No, you do.
selective.
Yes, Crazy Cat Queen has as well.
The
I know it's
friends I
tough.
have are good ones.
All right. I've got two really quick ones.
Muffet on
So I got to do two
this is
more.
Toots. I think I'm just totally healthy, safe one.
There you go.
Crazy Cat Queen. My first husband was emotionally abusive and played hard mind games and gaslit me hard. I saved $800 in cash to leave with. Yeah, that bingo. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to survive and get away.
Heck yeah.
Most unfortunate, but yes, that's sometimes necessary. All right, your
Yeah,
next
it's
question.
tough. Okay. Water is wet.
I just refuse to answer on the grounds it
I
may
said they were
incriminate
two
me as
quick
being
ones.
stupid. Huh?
I said they were quick ones. It literally says water is wet. So we can agree. Oh, shoot. How
And
do
you
I?
picked that out?
Well, I thought it was an easy one.
We may
In
need
case we
somebody
started
to
arguing
supervise
about
Ellen.
something. In case we started arguing about something, I figure,
Yeah, no, I mean water can be in three different forms, actually, three different
It
states.
does. Oh God, y'all. Okay, Crazy Cat Queen Clay. I wasn't even thinking, but it's water. But even if it dries or it
If it's if
condenses,
it's
it's still wet, right?
if it's an ice, it's not wet.
It's wet if you touch it. It's still.
It's no longer ice.
It says water. Is water wet? It didn't say is ice wet.
I said what I said. I'm sticking to it.
All right, I got. Okay. Oh God, stop it. Pick a number 1 through 5. And that's the card I'm going to choose.
Let me go with number 3.
All right.
Because I am third.
Of course, you meant that. You pick that one. Sex is meant for marriage. I'm wrong.
Huh?
I'm wrong.
No, I
No?
think it is. I just saw a study the other day that if a woman has more than 5 partners, the odds of divorce goes up above 80%.
Mhm.
And the speaker was talking about men and women. As you have more sex partners, you're more likely to compare the experience with your current or your
Mhm.
spouse. And oftentimes that can lead to some, I don't know, disappointment. I'm trying to be concise here. But yeah, I think in some ways, some of the happiest marriages I know of are people that met in high school and never had any other partners.
Hmm.
And it makes me think, there's something to that, or maybe something to that.
Yeah, and
So
Crazy Cat Queen, I used to feel the same way. Like, no. But now I'm like, you know what? It should be. I know, honey. I am too. It's fine.
yeah, we
Um,
all are in that regard. So don't feel
it's
all
just
alone.
you're not. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all screwed. However, I hope that our children, our children's children, take their sexuality a little I hope that my oh honey, I've been divorced 4 times. Let's not even go there. It's stupid. Um I'm 46 years old, about to be 47 this month. Ooh, it's just bad. Yeah, go
Yeah,
back 100%. But
I
I
think as a
hope that I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think as a society we have forgotten how to love. We've forgotten how to commit. Kids don't see it in their parents. They haven't lived it. They haven't learned it.
Mm-mm.
I think we have gotten away from understanding what commitment and a marriage truly is. It's more like a legal tax arrangement now than it is a joining of two into one. And I think the more we have gotten away from that, the more disruptive society has become. I think it
And I
has
think
impacted culture, education, success of kids. A lot of kids are in single family homes. And if you look at successful people who've done well in life, stay clear of the law, who have good relationships, who have good jobs, who, are, I don't know, pillars of the community, that kind of thing. There is one main characteristic from a sociological viewpoint, and that is that they had a father and a mother in their lives, two-parent family, stable two-parent home. That is vastly underrated when it comes to raising successful kids. That's a big problem in the poor neighborhoods is single parent homes where you have extraordinarily high incidences of crime, violence, poor education, etc. So I think,
and I know I'm going to pull this up just a second, but I wanted to say that I think we need to teach that our daughters that they are not a dumping ground for some teenagers or some 20-year-olds or whatever's ejaculation. They are not to be used that way. That they need to value themselves more.
yeah, the less a girl values herself or has daddy issues, the results oftentimes are painful. And there
And
are
Crazy
guys
Cat
literally that
Queen,
are
yeah.
trained to prey on girls with insecurities.
Hmm. And
Crazy
Crazy
cat
Cat
queen.
Queen,
I commit
me too.
way too soon was my problem.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I think the next generations are definitely much smarter and more informed. Like a few of our generations got the errors of weird transitions and experimentation of identity from Victorian to 50s. Yeah, there was all of a sudden a new liberty, a new
Hmm.
freedom, a new heightened sense of expression. And, the physical relationships just flowed from that. So I tend to agree.
Two 80s to aughts to more. You're right. You make a lot of sense, honey. And preach it, Ellen. Listen. Women need to value themselves more. They need to value their bodies more. And if we realized, if we understood that honestly we hold the cards, and I don't know how to make young women understand that yeah, some other girl may spread her legs, but they're not the marrying kind. They're not the ones that are going to get married. They're not the ones that are going to score the guy. They're the ones that are going to be used and abused.
And guys, actually, if they have any sense, a high value guy is not ordinarily going to want to marry a low value woman.
Mm-mm.
Guys are aware of that. Who's good for a fun night, a short time?
I think Chunk's going to bed. He's getting under the covers.
Yeah.
And do teach the boys better. Teach the boys to respect women, that we're not just pieces of meat, but
Well, women have always been a civilizing influence on men. Traditionally, you can take a group of men, put them in a cabin in the woods, and after a couple of weeks, language will deteriorate, odors will be wafting left and right, there'll be emissions from the body that normally you wouldn't want in public, humor will degrade, just what you would call a breakdown in society. And then you take a lady and introduce it into that group, into their presence. And these guys will be busting their ass, tripping over each other to get in the shower, to get cleaned up, to clean up their language, etc. Guys are adaptable. They will take advantage where their very nature. Most guys have about as much need for a marriage license as an alley cat. And guys will adapt. Women have always kind of set the standard and expectation. If women expect men to open doors and walk on the outside of the street, now I do it regardless. It's the way I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
But if women just started demanding that and not going out with guys with poor manners, you'd be amazed how quick guys adapt and learn. So I'm not excusing guys, but there are differences in motivations between men and women generally.
I'm having an aha moment. If we raise our standards, if we say we're not going to put up with your crap, we're not going to put up with you running around, we're not going to put up with you not opening doors, we're not going to put up with you things that we have seen as degrading to women. Now, women don't even exist because men are women, but real men, and hold them to standards, our lives would improve. And I know this sounds stupid and probably sexist to some of y'all, but we hold the cards. We really do. We control all of this, and we've never seen it. We've never realized it. We've always thought we had to degrade ourselves to get a man. No. That's never how it's been.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to find a guy who adores you that doesn't respect you first. Simple, practical reality. And, if I had a son, I would raise him to open doors, to say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, to walk on the outside of the street, to always be alert for threats to his mother. I would try to demonstrate that behavior for him, try to teach him how to protect and defend, try to teach him courtesies, which develop respect. I think too often we try to teach kids 100 different rules my thoughts are teach them basic principles. And as the circumstances arise later in life, having the principles, they can then intuit a correct decision. So, I would like to see us get, I hear a lot of talk about toxic masculinity. Masculinity is not toxic. There's masculinity, there's femininity. Neither one of those is toxic. There are toxic people. Some of them are men, some of them are women. But masculinity in and of itself is a respectful, a strong, protective nature. Is it toxic masculinity when a guy is running into a burning building to throw, a woman over his shoulder and carry her out? In Ukraine, in Russia, the women are free to travel. Women leave Ukraine and go to Stockholm, to Berlin, to London, and they're dancing and they're going out at the nightclubs. The guys, males, cannot leave the country. They're sticking a rifle in their hands and putting them in the trenches. They either kill or be killed. Who's got the privilege? So I think we need to get away from trying to blame everybody else. Each person has their own responsibilities. I think we need to get back to teaching people the value of principles, that human life is of infinite value, that each person is due respect for that reason and no other reason, that people's property should be respected. And then later on in life, when they come to different individual nuanced circumstances, they have the basis to make a good decision.
And men and women are so different. I mean, they're the masculine, feminine, but they complement each other like a dance. I mean, it's just a beautiful way. I mean, the hardness and the softness and the y'all are going to think I'm crazy as hell, but I mean that the caretaking and the nurturing versus the protecting. I mean, it's something that happens naturally. It's what we were designed for. It's how we operate. It's how our brains are wired and how our bodies are wired. Women are, made to have babies, and men are made to take care of their families. And I have no problem with a woman who wants to go out and work and make her own way. That's fine. But having children is one of the greatest gifts I've ever had. I mean, that you don't understand love until you hold that baby that you have been taken care of in your belly for 9 months in your arms. And you already know when it's going to hiccup and when it's going to kick and when it's going, because that's what you've done.
I heard a guy, I think it was an old pastor, explain this years ago, and I can't do it sufficient justice, but he talked about how women take what men give them and make it better. Man gives a woman a house, she turns it into a home. He gives her sperm, she turns it into a baby. He gives her groceries, she turns it into a meal. There's just a long series of contributions to each. The men gives, the women gives. What the women give generally improves. I freely admit, I have very little ability to make a house a home. It's not my gifts. That's not a moral failing. That's just a practical reality.
Mhm.
And I think those contributory graces need to be more celebrated, respected, whatever. Crazy Cat Queen said, people that say that mean toxic personalities. I would like to think that most of them do, but too often I hear it lumped with masculinity in
Masculinity.
general. And I see a lot of mothers trying to raise their sons to be feminine. And I was raised, big boys don't cry. And that's not very popular now. But I remember being in the 8th grade, coming home, walked, back behind this building, and there were some old tar paper shacks that poor people lived in. And one of those tar paper shacks was aflame. And I ran to the house. I was in 8th grade. I ran to the house, and I tried to run in because there was a little old black lady that lived in there. And I tried to run in. I couldn't. There was flame coming out the door. I went around and tried the back. Again, the whole house was just enveloped by the time I got there. Nothing I could do. But I kept my wits about me. Big boys don't cry doesn't mean that you don't show emotion or have emotions. It means when the shit hits the fan, you can control it. And you can direct your energies and your thoughts to coming up with a solution to the crisis. You're not subject to the panic or collapse, emotional collapse, at a time when it can be least afforded. So, I believe in that kind of thing. I believe that men should be able to control their emotions. I think weak men who abuse women, have never been taught to control that testosterone, that emotion, and they freely give rein to that rage, and makes them feel stronger.
And some dating advice for any of you: if you ever meet a guy who hates his mother, do not go out
Yeah.
with him.
You
No.
can tell a lot about how a man will treat you by how he treats his mother, how he views his mother.
Mhm.
Same with girls and their fathers. So, I'm not a family counselor, not pretending to be, just giving you some simple, perspectives since we got on the topic. But I'm a simple guy, have a simple faith, simple beliefs. I believe in right and wrong.
He's not that simple.
I am very simple. But I think my principles are simple and straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they then give me great adaptability in different circumstances to make decisions, to make hopefully correct decisions, and not the easiest one, not the whimsical one, not the one that benefits me the most. So that's my 2 cents. KP, you're very
Chunk wanted to
kind.
say something.
Chunk disagrees with you, KP.
That's not true. He had a moment.
He's a bratty, noisy little hood. I failed as
Yeah,
a parent.
we are like an hour and 15 minutes past what we normally do. So time flies, baby.
Are we? Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we are. Well, on that note, and Chunk has expressed his opinions.
And I got to get up early tomorrow and drive 7 hours.
So
But I hope you guys get to meet my grandfather. We'll see.
we will bring this evening to a close, but much thankful for your time, your thoughts, and your fellowship. Even though it's online, we appreciate you all. Thank you. Our time is
We
up.
love you.
We thank you for yours. Y'all have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you.